Well, good afternoon, everyone. It is 12:30 Thursday afternoon. I'm Jane Monreal. You are watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Nick Sturdivant is off today, so you got me. Okay.
That lucky son of a gun.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Carlene, what do we have here today?
Hi.
Hi.
Do you want to see Uptown?
Yes, you
It
had it
looks
up
like
for me,
this.
didn't you? Okay. It doesn't look too
Doesn't look
bad.
too bad.
It looks like we might have some clouds,
It
some
looks
hazy
sticky.
sunshine.
It looks like it's humid outside.
It doesn't it though? So where do you want to be? You want to
I wanna
be
be
here?
there.
You want
I
to
wanna
be
be
here?
there.
I want to be
We've
there
been
too.
asking for boat friends for weeks now. Boat friends.
No one
need a boat
answering-
friend.
no
one's
one answering the call.
Call in. Please let us know.
Call in.
We need some boat friends.
Lake Norman, you're on the phone.
Let's do this show at the lake.
We should.
You know,
And there are a lot of boats out there.
there are a lot of boats out there. There's a couple missing.
wonder why.
Some people out there
It is a
enjoying it.
Thursday.
It is a Thursday.
Come on, I mean, but long weekend.
That's true.
It's got to be a long weekend for
That's
a lot
true.
of people. Traffic seemed lighter than usual this morning. I know we did have that big wreck
Yes.
on 485, and that definitely tied things up for a while. But and I see one fella there walking along the dock of the bay of the lake.
Yeah. Excuse me, sir. Can we can we be your friend?
Hello. And what else? We have, is Majestic going to be on Router 1? She going to be on?
Yes.
Okay, very cool. And is Majestic ready?
I think I'm ready. If you guys are ready for me.
We're always ready
We're
for you, babe.
always
Okay,
ready.
it's so funny because I've been looking for a boat friend too. And-
Oh, I thought you were out on the. I thought you were out on the lake.
Oh yeah,
not
with
too
my
long-
floaty.
Oh,
That's about it. That's all a girl needs, but a girl
so
would love
true.
to have a boat friend.
need
But all
boat
you need is a
friends.
floaty.
Call in.
yes.
Yes.
We can take this show on
Yes.
the road. All right,
absolutely.
Majestic. It is, so what we're getting at, friends, is it is hot, it is
Yes.
muggy,
Yep.
and we're going to wait for some of those storms.
Exactly. I mean, we've been seeing this day to day. It's hot, it's muggy, and then those pop-up afternoon thunderstorms and rain showers just kind of trickle on through. We had almost the same setup yesterday. I got caught in one of those thunderstorms when I was driving home from work, and we're seeing them continuing to spread across the Carolinas. So let's go ahead and take a look at what I'm watching now on our satellite and radar. So you can see we have those showers and thunderstorms starting to move in. Now, by no means is this, widespread or anything like that, but we're concerned that some of these storms, although they are isolated, they could bring heavy downpours, just like what we saw yesterday, even some dangerous lightning or gusty winds as well. So zooming it on in and switching it over now to just our Doppler radar, there are a few areas where they're actually getting downpours right now. I'm not seeing any from our cameras that we have. I've been trying to find an area that does have that ongoing rain, but want to just zoom it on into a few areas because this is one of those forecasts where literally one neighborhood is sunny and gorgeous, and then the next neighborhood could have that heavy downpour where the rain's coming down so intensely where it's even hard to see. Visibility gets reduced, especially if you're traveling. So always as a reminder, just take it easy on those roads. We always see those accidents pop up when we have these afternoon storms. So right now, it's stop time. This is live right now. You can see those scattered storms continuing to move. This is south of the Charlotte metro area, York, Chester County, from Rock Hill out towards Lancaster. Those pockets of reds and oranges, that's indicating where the rain is currently coming down very intensely, or even where we could see some isolated storms as well. So for the Charlotte metro area, it looks like we have this little system, this little pop-up shower and storm just to the northwest of the Uptown area, so just passing through Mount Holly, and then up in the mountain locations again, much of the same. As you can see, Doppler radar making its scans. I'm seeing a lot of shades of that red, and that red is just indicating that heavy rain. Now, it's important to know that not everyone will get this, and those areas that do receive those isolated storms could actually see a strong to even severe thunderstorm. It'll be mainly northwest of the Charlotte metro area, so we'll be watching for that this afternoon. Hickory, Blowing Rock, Salisbury, no severe weather threat tomorrow or into Saturday, though. Again, today as those storms continue to develop, that heat and humidity that we have been feeling over the last few days, and even this morning, mean, you probably felt it if you head out for your morning walk or run. It is muggy out there. That is fuel for these afternoon storms. And if those storms do develop, which we're seeing them now, they have the ability to bring a lot of rain in a relatively short amount of time. So whenever I see this yellow pop up on this graphic, it's a little concerning, especially for our friends who live in flood-prone areas. We could see a rapid rise in rivers, streams, creeks. As these storms, they're sneaky because it's so weird where you can see sunshine and clouds, and all of a sudden the next thing you know, you're caught in that rain. Now for counties shaded in that green, you're under a low end risk for flooding, but still don't put your guards down. Make sure you're aware of this, especially if you are heading out to the lake today, or you're heading to the golf course, or you do want to be outside in the elements. Make sure you're aware that some of those storms will continue to form. Futurecast is having a hard time even picking up on what's going on now. I've looked at several different models, and it's interesting because they're just so scattered in nature. And so this is still showing at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We could still see a few more passing showers and storms across the area. This is 6 o'clock, so even dinner time or so, and it's going to be the same setup. One neighborhood will see sunshine. I mean, we're seeing clear conditions out there in York County. Meanwhile, east of Charlotte, you could get pounded with that heavy, heavy rain. That'll continue through 9, 10 o'clock, and may even have some rumbles of thunder after sunset, after dinner time. But again, it's not going to be everyone, and it's just important to note that we'll be on it for you, definitely watching that risk for some storms today. And then it kind of transitions into a different story tomorrow because it's going to get really hot. I mean, we're talking about multiple days in a row where we're going to see heat indices rise above 100 degrees for multiple days in a row. So if you don't know what that means, it means it's going to feel over 100 degrees. So with that being said, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday will all be WCNC weather alert days, and not because we're concerned about any severe weather or anything like that, but because it's going to be dangerously hot. You can see it feeling 105 as soon as tomorrow, 103 on Saturday, 104 on Sunday. So definitely concerning for those of you who work out in the elements. Make sure you're actually taking breaks from the heat, even if it just means sitting in shade, drinking some water. If you don't have air conditioning, it's going to be important to close your curtains and your blinds and try to get some fans going to stay cool. And of course, don't forget about your fur babies, because if it's hot for us, it's hot for them as well. So we're going to be under this, watching for pop-up severe storms today, and then starting tomorrow, we'll be watching that WCNC weather alert day, and that's going to be 4 days in a row because of the heat and humidity.
Wow. Oh, I mean, feels like we should be getting used to it, but it's still worth the reminders and, to stay hydrated and watch your neighbors, all the vulnerable folks in your life. I'm already in ponytail weather this afternoon because my hair frizzed out this morning.
Right behind you. I'm 2 seconds away from throwing it in a bun.
I'm ready. Once I'm done here, it's going straight up.
Straight up in a bun.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be hot.
happens.
And it's important to note that, like, the reality is not everyone has air conditioning.
Right.
You know, there's so many people, even just outside of Charlotte, where we oftentimes see the heat indices get even higher than what we see in the city, too, sometimes. And that can be really tough. You know, it's already hot for us when we're, you know, walking to and from a building and stuff like that. So just keeping that in mind.
Chris mentioned this morning, even he's a meteorologist, that he suffered from heat exhaustion within the last couple of years. And like,
because you're going.
He's in this business. He knows what it is. But, you know, again, the day gets away from you. He's got a small child. Like, you know, you're always go, go, go. And then all of a sudden you're exhausted.
Or you're like, oh, it's just the summertime. I'm used to this. It's fine. I can
But
go
we're
mow
not.
my lawn.
You don't get used to it.
No.
Yeah.
It's very dangerous.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's what we're looking at.
All right, Majestic Storm, we appreciate you coming in here. Some fumes left there on the tank after working early this morning. But thank you for the live update for weather, and we will be weather alert. And a great reminder to check your cooling centers as well. They will be definitely the good call for today and really through the weekend.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Thank you.
12:40 right now on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Thank you for downloading the app and letting your friends and relatives know that you can catch all your local, state, national, and international news right here as it comes into the WCNC Charlotte newsroom. Speaking of which, today, big day for CMPD. They ran their mid-year stats, their crime report. If you were not with us on the early version of Live Impact News, we ran that briefing live, all of it as it came into the newsroom. And so let's go ahead and replay that for you. If you missed anything, you can catch up on our latest crime report in the Charlotte-Mecklenburg area with this press conference just recently recorded moments ago. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC+.
Good morning. My name is Crystal Fletcher. I'm a lieutenant with the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department in the Public Affairs Division. Thank you all for joining us here today. Every quarter, CMPD provides a public safety briefing to ensure transparency and share what we as a department are doing proactively to reduce crime and victimization. Today, we will be sharing our mid-year statistics and explaining what is driving them. This time frame will include January through June of 2025. Before we begin, I want to be clear that this briefing is focused on the first 2 quarters of this year. While we are aware of the recent incidents in Uptown that occurred in July, these events fall outside the reporting period we are discussing today. Even though these incidents are not part of today's data, I do want to remind everyone that an arrest has been made in the officer-involved shooting, and we are grateful that our officer is on the road to recovery. In addition, 2 arrests have been made in connection with the July 13th homicide. I want to ensure you that the investigation is not over and our detectives continue to actively pursue every lead. While that recent violence is deeply concerning, it's also important to recognize the broader progress we are making. I am happy to report that this year, overall crime is down by 8% compared to the same time period last year. This significant reduction is a testament to our collective efforts. Violent crime has seen a dramatic decrease of 25%. This includes homicides, rapes, robberies, and aggravated assaults, which encompass shootings. As for property crimes, Charlotte is down 5%. Property crime includes residential and commercial burglary, auto theft, and larceny. While overall crime is down compared to this same time period in 2024, a trend that we are encouraged by, we remain focused on driving these numbers even lower, addressing persistent crime, and never losing sight of the real impact on those victimized. These numbers are notable because they underscore the reality of Charlotte's safety, not just the perception. These statistics follow national standards set by the FBI's Uniform Crime Reporting Summary statistics, ensuring they accurately reflect the reality in our community. This progress in public safety is being driven by the daily efforts of our officers, data-driven resource deployment, innovative strategies, and strong, ongoing partnerships with the community. We have several speakers here today to dive deeper into the figures and reasons behind our efforts thus far this year. We ask that you hold all questions until the end of the presentation so we can provide a full picture before addressing individual topics. First up to speak about violent crime and one of our initiatives will be Deputy Chief Ryan Butler. Deputy Chief.
Good morning. I appreciate you being with us today. My name is Ryan Butler, and I currently oversee the Investigative Services Group, which includes both our Special Investigations and Criminal Investigations Bureaus. Our group is essential in investigating crimes involving our most violent offenders and those who seek to poison our communities, ensuring that we address these issues comprehensively. We rely on strong collaboration with all of our stakeholders to tackle crime and keep our community safe. That shared commitment is reflected in a 29% reduction in homicides from January through June of this year compared to the same period in 2024. There have been 42 homicides in the first 2 quarters of this year compared to 59 last year in the same period. While any homicide greater than 0 is too many, we continue to address violent crime. The results through the first half of the year are heartening, but we are profoundly aware that our work continues. In our community, there should be no reason that disputes escalate to the tragic loss of life. Our detectives work tirelessly, seeking justice for families impacted by these impetuous acts. While homicides rightly receive significant attention, many other violent crimes and daily efforts to prevent them often go unreported in the news. From January through June of this year, robberies have dropped by 21% and aggravated assaults by 25% compared to the same period in 2024. These are results that reflect consistent behind-the-scenes efforts making a significant impact in our city. Our officers are working diligently across 411 square miles to solve cases, take illegally possessed firearms out of the hands of violent offenders, prevent violent crimes, and guide young people towards safer paths and positive opportunities. Our proactive community efforts include daily zone checks, where officers drive through neighborhoods or stop by a business simply to check in and maintain a visible presence. These actions foster the relationships we build upon to solve and dissuade crime. Already this year, our officers have completed over 150,000 zone checks. This is up 8% versus the same time in 2024. In addition to these efforts, the combined work of our officers has led to significant results this year. There have been over 277,000 police interactions from January through June, up 4% versus 2024, with officers making 8,557 arrests. That's up 13% versus 2024, and seizing 1,991 firearms, an 18% increase over last year. Among those many interactions, one of our proactive initiatives that began in October of last year, which continues to have a positive impact on crime reduction, is the Coordinated Overlap Response Effort, or what we call CORE 13. CORE 13 involves using officers in 2 squads assembled from the patrol divisions across our city. These officers are used to address both persistent and acute crime issues during peak evening overlap staffing. In the first 6 months of 2025, CORE 13 deployments have been responsible for 1,219 traffic stops, 51 arrests, and 25 seized firearms. On April 2nd, an example of their work was while officers were conducting patrols in the North Tryon Street corridor when they observed a suspicious vehicle parked illegally. Their attention to detail and investigative work led to 2 arrests, the recovery of 2 stolen firearms, suspected cocaine, and cash. This is just one example of the daily impact CORE 13 is having to disrupt violent crime before it happens. I want the community to know that CMPD is doing the work. Our officers and detectives are dedicated and diligent in their effort to keep our communities safe. I'm incredibly proud of our patrol officers who are in our neighborhoods daily, engaging with the community, observing suspicious activity, and providing our detectives with crucial information needed to solve cases and arrest violent offenders. The progress we're making in reducing violent crime comes with strong, ongoing teamwork. We're asking the community to continue being a part of that effort by reporting anything suspicious and sharing information that could help solve crimes. Any tips can be shared anonymously through Charlotte Crime Stoppers at 704-334-1600, through the P3 app, or online at charlottecrimestoppers.com. Working together, we can continue to make a real difference in helping to keep Charlotte safe and continue moving in the right direction that we all desire for our city. Now I'd like to invite Captain Michael Carter to the podium to walk through the department's focused efforts to address property crime across Charlotte. Captain Carter.
Thanks, Chief. My name is Michael Carter. I represent the men and women who serve and work in Steel Creek Division here at CMPD. As you've already heard today, overall property crime is down 5% from January through June 2025. That's this year. But behind the numbers, we're seeing a troubling pattern. Some of these crimes, particularly larceny from autos, are up 3% this year, being committed by younger offenders in our community. In the first quarter of 2024, to address this issue, our department created the Juvenile Accountability and Diversion Empowerment Team, otherwise known as JADE. This team focuses on juvenile investigations, monitors at-risk youth, and works to break the cycle of repeat offending. So far this year, JADE has been responsible for 97 arrests and the seizure of 72 firearms. Our department isn't just focused on making arrests. We are committed to making a difference in the lives of these young people. That's why our JADE officers continue to make home visits to families of these at-risk youth to provide educational resources aimed at prevention and support. So far this year, this team has made 84 home visits. These allow officers an opportunity to build meaningful relationships with the families, fostering trust and support. I'm also encouraged to report the juvenile arrests overall have declined by 16% this year, an early indication that these efforts may be helping. In June, we shared the case of a 15-year-old who had been arrested a total of 8 times by JADE and has additional arrests in other jurisdictions throughout, agencies throughout the jurisdiction. From March 31st through June 5th, this one juvenile racked up 275 charges from 8 local jurisdictions. Over 100 of these charges were for breaking and entering into vehicles and larceny of autos. Think about that for a moment. 275 charges in less than 3 months. If that doesn't alarm you, it should. Our community should be outraged and calling for real solutions and accountability. Thanks to the diligent work of our JADE officers, CNPD is making progress in deterring some of the youth crime and holding violent offenders, even young ones, accountable. While we're seeing progress in our crime statistics overall, property crimes like commercial burglaries show us where targeted attention can make a difference. During the first 2 quarters of this year, burglaries rose by 7%, including an 18% increase in commercial cases. For context, it's important to understand that most of these cases involve repeat offenders. One repeat offender I'll talk about today, Mitchell Morrison, is a convicted felon and was involved in a series of storage unit break-ins in the University City Division, resulting in more than 27 warrants and tens of thousands of dollars in stolen property. Although our officers have worked to recover the stolen property and arrested Morrison multiple times, repeat offenders are often released and able to continue committing crimes in the community. Another contributing factor to the rise in commercial burglaries is how repeat offenders are charged under current laws. When an individual has been banned from a commercial location for shoplifting, for example, returns to shoplift again, officers will show up and make the arrest, charging the subject with commercial burglary. The person committing the crime is ultimately responsible for their actions, but others must step up to ensure that they are held accountable. This includes their families, friends, judges, and agencies that focus on juvenile justice issues. As I wrap up, I would like to remind the citizens of Charlotte to take simple precautions, such as locking their vehicles and securing their valuables, to help reduce these property crimes in our jurisdiction. We also recommend taking advantage of Connect Charlotte, which allows residents and businesses to register cameras and partner with us, to enhance community safety. Please visit visit connectcharlotte.org for more information. Now I would like to introduce Sergeant Kevin Wiggins, who will be speaking on a relevant and hot topic, street takeovers and auto thefts. Sergeant.
Thank you, Captain. Good morning, everybody. Once again, my name is Sergeant Wiggins, and I'm currently assigned to the Special Events Division here at CNPD. I oversee the Street Takeover Task Force unit here at CNPD. Most of you have seen the many street takeover videos on social media showcasing illegal, reckless, and incredibly dangerous car stunts. These stunts involve large crowds standing in the street within inches of fast-moving vehicles that are doing donuts, drifting, and burnouts. This is not only a safety hazard for those involved, but also a significant nuisance to our community, causing traffic congestion, delays, and damage to property. In recent years, thanks to the part new legislation, we have greater tools to crack down on these gatherings. For example, participating in takeovers can result in a Class A1 misdemeanor for the first offense and a Class H felony for a second offense within 24 months. Additionally, heavy fines are levied ranging from $1,000 and a bond being placed on a vehicle that is seized for street takeover. The bond that is placed on that vehicle is twice the value of that vehicle. For anyone who hasn't gotten the message yet, consider this a warning. If you come to Charlotte for a street takeover, we will hold you accountable and your vehicle will be impounded.
In the first 2 quarters of 2025, CMPD has responded to 25 organized street takeover events. From those 25 events, officers have arrested 7 individuals, issued 84 citations, seized 23 vehicles, 6 firearms, and have signed out 111 warrants. We will continue to track important leads to stay ahead of planned events and take enforcement action. I also want to clear up a common misconception about vehicle seizures that CMPD is involved in. CMPD does not financially benefit from seizing vehicles. State law mandates the vehicle seizure process. If a defendant is found guilty, the vehicle is auctioned by the Mecklenburg County Sheriff's Office and those funds go to the county school board. If charges are reduced or dismissed, the vehicle is returned to the owner. The only time CMPD takes ownership is in rare cases, either as part of a plea deal or the vehicle is modified to a point where it cannot be auctioned back out to the public. The bottom line is CMPD is focused on safety and accountability, not profit. That's why we continue to rely on your help to keep our streets safe. If you witness or have information about street takeovers, please call 911 and report to us immediately. Your vigilance can prevent dangerous situations and protect our community. Another vehicle-related crime worth highlighting are auto thefts, which are down 22% so far this year, thanks in large part to the continued efforts of our stolen car and recovery enforcement team. Just over 2 years ago, CMPD formed this team, otherwise known as Scarlet. This year alone, the team has made 102 arrests, recovered 85 stolen vehicles valued at over $7 million, and has seized 24 firearms. This is commendable work, not only protecting property owners, but also holding offenders accountable and removing dangerous weapons and substances from the streets of Charlotte. This morning so far, we've covered a lot of ground on crime statistics and the reasons behind them, but now we'd like to talk about a program CMPD developed a few years ago to improve customer service throughout CMPD. Sergeant Jeffrey Joseph will share key milestones and updates on CMPD service. Sergeant.
Thank you, Sergeant Wiggins. Good morning. I'm Sergeant Jeffrey Joseph, currently assigned to the Police and Fire Training Academy as a recruit training sergeant. Today, I'm here to talk to you about our training program called CMPD Serves. I'm proud to announce that we are now celebrating our 5-year anniversary of this innovative training program. CMPD Serves was developed in response to the 2020 civil rights demonstration across the country. We became the first law enforcement agency to implement a customer service strategic program. We have pioneered this training, and several other departments nationwide have taken interest. At its core, CMPD Serves is about promoting effective, empathetic, and respectful interactions that truly help build trust within our community and strengthen that relationship. An internal survey was conducted in 2024, which showed that 70% of our employees felt that they have applied knowledge they've learned during this training in their daily duties. The program was recently recognized nationally by the Business Intelligence Group, who named CMPD as the 2025 Organization of the Year for Customer Service Excellence. Since its launch, the program has led to measurable improvements. From 2023 to 2024, use of force incidents has dropped by 24% and occurred in less than 1% of all police interactions. During that same time period, external complaints decreased by 61%, internal complaints went down by 39%, and officer-involved shootings declined by 43%. These outcomes not only reflect just policy shifts, but also a cultural commitment to service and accountability by our officers within this department. One example of the reinforcement and culture shift is an award that we award our employees called Acts of Excellence. An Acts of Excellence is a certificate that we issue to employees who go above and beyond the call of duty. As our dedicated employees perform impactful work each day, these awards provide well-deserved positive reinforcement. Nominations for these awards come from reviewing body-worn camera footage, internal nomination from colleagues, as well as supervisors, and letters from the community. So far this year, I'm pleased to announce that we have presented 137 Acts of Excellence. Our community. Now I'd like to invite Lieutenant Crystal Fletcher back to the podium to conclude this briefing.
That
That concludes the speaker portion of our press conference. Now I would like to invite all of the speakers back up to the podium, and we will open it up for a few questions. Yes.
I was wondering if there's any updates on the drone pilot program that was mentioned a couple of press conferences ago.
We don't have any updates for you today, but we will follow up with you in any information.
And you are watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. That was the press briefing earlier today from CMPD on their mid-year stats. It is 1 o'clock again. I'm Jane Monreal, and here on Live Impact News, a number of things we're watching for this hour. We are standing by for Governor Josh Stein, who's in Western North Carolina, speaking to the growth and the rebuilding there, and with that, number of grants that are going to be received there. We're also standing by for the White House press briefing from Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. That should be coming up here any minute. And the latest now on the investigation and the findings at Alpha Genesis. That was the that research plant or the research facility in South Carolina where 40 or so monkeys escaped the facility. It took days and weeks to get every animal back to the facility, and the Department of Agriculture now running an investigation. So with that, we have our Bria Smith, who is investigating things today and your findings. Bria, what did you find in your gathering today?
Yes, so still gathering the pieces here. The full story really will air later this evening on our broadcast. But the main thing that I learned was that the USDA did announce a warning for the Alpha Genesis facility because just months after that group of 43 monkeys they escaped, 22 were then found during an inspection done by the USDA, found dead at that Alpha Genesis facility. So just days ago, the USDA did put that warning out for some violations that facility had going on.
All right, and what did it find specifically?
Yeah, so just the living conditions. So they're supposed to, pretty much any kind of livable conditions as far as like the weather goes, they should be applied to these non-human primates, in which case they were not. And then the actual facility should be maintained above 45 degrees, in which they found that was also something that was violated. So, those were kind of the reasons why this warning was put out.
Yeah, almost disturbing findings there, and learning that it has a history of certain violations, right?
Yeah, and this happened with 2 separate species. So this last group, the 22 group, was the what's considered the crab-eating macaque monkey species. So just kind of concerning and really unfortunate.
All right, so you have reports coming up later this afternoon in WCNC Charlotte at what time?
At 4:30.
4:30. Okay. Well, that's my newscast. So I will see you at 4:30 in the big studio. In the meantime, Bria Smith giving us a preview of what she's working on today on that research facility out of South Carolina. Thanks, Bria.
Thank you.
All right, back out here now at 105. We are again standing by for a couple of things. One is Governor Josh Stein. We know we've seen his camera shot, so it looks like they're setting up there in Western North Carolina.
The shot keeps going in and out, but once it's up, we will take it.
We will take it. All right. So that, as well as Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt from D.C. and giving us a press briefing for today. We know Attorney General Pam Bondi headed to Alcatraz. We saw their boat over the San Francisco Bay just hours ago. But right now you can see that some reporters, they're doing what we call in the biz stand-ups as they're setting up their live shot and their coverage for today's briefing. All right, shall we talk soccer?
Sure.
All right. Because the big news today, of course, or yesterday, I should say, was that MLS, the All-Star Game, is coming to Charlotte. We can count on that here in 2026, making the Queen City kind of
the place to be.
The place to be. Add to it.
As a soccer fan? You should be here.
You should be here.
You should be watching us talk about soccer.
Talk about it. Come on to the Live Impact Studio, stream, and this is what we do. We had coverage, double coverage there from Bank of America Stadium with the commissioner there yesterday and so many VIPs. Our Nick Carboni did have some one-on-ones. If you missed any of these interviews, here they are on Live Impact News on WCNC+.
Here with Major League Soccer Commissioner Don Garber upon the announcement that Charlotte will receive the 2026 MLS All-Star Game. You've been here before. We've seen you hand David Tepper a scarf before when we got the team back a couple of years ago. What has that partnership been like, and what have you seen from this franchise in this city when it comes to support over the last handful of years?
Well, we knew Charlotte would be a soccer city. There was a time when MLS didn't have teams south of Washington, D.C., and here we are in Atlanta and in Charlotte and in Florida. The South and the Southeast has been a great supporter of our sport and certainly our league. Here in Charlotte with the Club World Cup matches, the big Real Madrid game, the Copa America game that took place here last summer, the level of passion and support for the sport has really been quite evident. And why not say thank you to all the fans and all the people that are been working to build the sport here. You've got a city and a state that made a terrific bid, that utilized all their resources to show us that Charlotte would be a great host for the All-Star Game next year. That's going to be great. It's going to be exciting.
For you personally, what has stood out when you've been in this building? You mentioned the 74,000, and what makes this atmosphere so unique, even in your league?
It's just an incredibly passionate soccer audience. I love the images that are, shown around the world and throughout social media, the dancing blue shirts, shaking the stadium. And I think when people see all that energy and that activity, whether it's the international community or whether it's the non-soccer community that's involved in the other major leagues, they're shaking their heads and saying, man, I just can't believe that this is MLS, that this is the city of Charlotte. And that'll really come to life during our All-Star Game next summer.
All right, July after the FIFA World Cup here in North America. When do we find out exact date, and what are you working on in terms of format and opponent?
All that stuff will come soon. We got to get through our current All-Star Game that will be in Austin next week and, take a step back and try to understand the full logistics of the World Cup next year, when those players will be released, when we think we can come back from our break.
All right, and it's a week-long celebration. What can fans expect here in Charlotte that week?
Lots of activity, community events, grassroots events, a skills competition, a fan fest out here in downtown. It's going to be a week-long celebration.
All right, Commissioner Don Garber, thanks for being here.
You got it. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
And we want to get to your weather update here just after 1 o'clock because it is hot and muggy day.
It's gross.
We heard, it's downright
We got
gross.
buns on.
Carlin's being real. Yep. Our Majestic Storm, she joined us live here not too long ago. She did file this report as well. I'll get you caught up if you missed the top of our afternoon stream. This is Live Impact News on WCNC+.
Well, good Thursday afternoon to you. I'm WCNC meteorologist Majestic Storm. It's been a really quiet start to the day, and most of the day should stay a little something like this. Generally, a nice mix of sun and clouds for your Thursday forecast. Still some small chances for a pop-up shower or a thunderstorm, but if you plan on going for your afternoon walk or maybe you're heading out to the golf course today, temperatures are still going to be warm, rising into the 90s. With that added humidity today, it's going to feel like we're back into the upper 90s, low 100s. You can see those rain and storm chances. They're low, but they're not zero. So it could be like yesterday where one neighborhood you're seeing a whole lot of sunshine, the next neighborhood over, all of a sudden you get one of those isolated downpours. Yesterday we topped off at 92 degrees. It was a warm summer day, and today we're cranking up the heat and humidity even more, but we're really just getting started. We're now going to be settled into kind of this extended stretch of heat and humidity with weather alert days starting tomorrow because of that. Now, if you're in the mountains for your Thursday, this is where it's feeling pretty nice, comfortable if you want to work outside in your yard. A good mix of those upper 70s and low 80s today, 79 out there in Boone, about 80 degrees for your forecasted high in Fleetwood. As we're looking towards the foothills, staying mostly dry, partly to mostly sunny skies as well, turning up the heat a little bit more, upper 80s, low 90s, about 90 degrees today in Morganton, 94 from Lincoln to Gastonia. That's where we should top off today as well. But remember, remember, that's before you factor in the humidity. Once you add in the humidity, it's going to feel like we're back into the upper 90s, low 100-degree temperatures. Out there in Monroe, low 90s for you, much of the same out towards Lancaster, 94 for Rock Hill today. And notice, over the next 5 days, our heat index values, what it actually feels like on your skin the moment you step outside, likely going to be into the triple digits for multiple days in a row, especially Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and even Monday. We have multiple weather alert days because it's going to be very, very hot, especially starting as we're heading to our Friday. Between 1 p.m. in the afternoon and 5 p.m., that's when the heat really gets cranked up. You can see that putting things into perspective over the next 10 days. Tomorrow, it's going to be nearing 100 degrees for our actual air temperature. 97 degrees will drop down a little bit for our Saturday, mid-90s, but if you're heading out to the lake or maybe just having a nice pool day, couple of things you're going to want to know. The heat and humidity will be the #1 thing that you need to be ready for, but we also have rain and storm chances over the next few days, including today, about a 30% chance today and tomorrow. But notice next week, on Monday, it's a 60% chance, 40 by Tuesday, so more widespread impacts as we're heading into early next week. In addition to that, today, the severe weather threat is very low, but it's not zero. So if we get all of a sudden an isolated storm that pops up, it could be a stronger one, especially for areas northwest of Charlotte. And if all of a sudden one of those storms does form, it could bring some stronger winds. Even could see an isolated flooding concern there. You can see areas shaded in yellow. That's what we'll be monitoring for this afternoon. So up towards our mountain locations from Morganton over towards Boone. Here's our futurecast. You can see most of us, though, we're not going to have to worry about that. Generally just partly to mostly sunny skies, but those sneaky afternoon storms likely going to pop up here and there. They're going to be very, very sporadic. There's 5 o'clock right around dinner time or so. Then it all starts to
All right, it looks like there is a little freeze frame there on Majestic's Futurecast, but basically we're going to be weather alert again starting tomorrow morning. That is for triple-digit heat indices, and that will really stay with us throughout the weekend. So word to the wise, a reminder for you just to stay cool, stay hydrated, listen to your body, and check on your friends and your pets for you out there, because as we look outside, things are definitely on the sunny side, and you can just see and feel how hot it's going to be. I want to let you know that we are awaiting a press conference from the White House. This is a live look right now, so the room looks like it's beginning to settle in. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt will be up shortly. In the meantime, let's go up to the Senate hearing. That
We saw
is
some
happening.
Spicy Senate things earlier today.
They have. Well, I mean, yes, and I'm just looking at some of the headlines, and the debate
Yes.
for nominee for federal judge Emil
Bove.
Yes, was very hot, and then the Dems walked
This might
out.
be worth a listen to see if there's any of that kind of
You're right.
spiciness left over.
You're right. Let's do it here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
President of the United States, as well as 3 sitting senators and representatives. Moreover, the Smithsonian receives more than half of its funds, its operating funds, from the American taxpayer, from the federal government. It's pretty hard to make the case that this is an institution that gets a majority of its funding from Congress and is governed by a board of government officials is anything but a government entity. In fact, you can't make that argument because the evidence is all to the contrary. Furthermore, the institutions are structured much like other government agencies, headed by a secretary who oversees several undersecretaries. I don't know of any private corporations whose CEOs are referred to as secretary. Moreover, the Smithsonian Institution itself has argued time and time again in court that they are in fact a government entity. In a case called Raven versus Saget, a federal court agreed, ruling that the Smithsonian is a government institution through and through. That means that the Smithsonian is clearly subject to oversight by the U.S. government, including the executive branch and the Congress. Well, Mr. President, our country was founded on the ideals of individual liberty, justice, and equality before the law. These are values that our institutions should teach, particularly to the next generation, not woke ideology and political agendas. So as we prepare for the celebration of America's 250th birthday, I would strongly encourage the Smithsonian Institution to reconsider its purpose and to return to the principles and ideals laid out in the founding documents they so proudly display for the benefit of all Americans. And Mr. President, I will close with this prediction. We know from recent events, some as recent as early this morning, when we took the step that many of us have talked about for many years, and that is eliminating taxpayer support for the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. There are more than enough media entities that are capable of communicating the news and other information of interest to our constituents, the 350 million people of the country. We don't need to subsidize those with taxpayer money. And indeed, if you look at the First Amendment of the Constitution, it guarantees a free press. Can the press truly be free if it's financed and subsidized by the government? I don't see how that is possible. So starting early this morning with the vote on the rescissions package and the defunding, at least in terms of federal funds, private funds, donations, certainly fine. But we finally have begun the step of bringing accountability to the nation's capital. No longer will the bureaucracy simply take the taxpayers' money and do what they want, regardless of oversight by the Congress and the executive branch and the oversight, in essence, of the American people. Those days are over. Mr. President, I yield the floor.
And you are watching live U.S. leaders debating on the Senate floor, just a regular session, not as contentious as it was this morning, but we are just listening in there while we await a press conference from the White House and again tracking heat in the Carolinas as we wait for Governor Josh Stein to start his press conference. We continue to listen in on the Senate floor.
So I rise today to both publicly and clearly explain my hold on this nomination, and to demand that the Trump administration release all remaining U.S. military forces from the unnecessary and political deployment to Los Angeles. Now, earlier this week, the Trump administration did announce that they would be releasing 2,000 National Guard troops from deployment. No, not from an overseas mission, not from some disaster response to a region in need, but from a deployment against their own fellow citizens. Around 2,000 National Guards women and men and an additional 700 Marines are still in Los Angeles today. Why? Because Donald Trump needs a distraction. Think back to about a month ago. The president found himself in the lowest point of his presidency thus far. He was drowning in negative headlines, everything from his failing tariff wars that continued to raise prices and costs on working families, to Vladimir Putin, embarrassing him on the world stage, to a messy public breakup with Elon Musk. So in order to change the news cycle, which he does so often, to shift the headlines away from his many, many failures, President Trump chose to ramp up ICE raids in California. And when Californians took to the streets to exercise their First Amendment rights by peacefully protesting, Trump responded by federalizing the California National Guard. And then later, the U.S. Marines were ordered in to intimidate the people of Los Angeles. It was the first time that the National Guard has been deployed against the wishes of the state's governor since 1965. Many of these service members signed up to become a political prop. But Trump has put them in this impossible position that he knew would escalate tensions in the region and take them away from their critical missions elsewhere. And it's exactly why in late June, a few weeks ago, the head of the U.S. Northern Command requested that Secretary Hegseth return at least 200 troops from the National Guard's wildfire unit who were stuck in Los Angeles for Trump's political purposes. Because every day that those troops were unnecessarily deployed to Los Angeles was another day that their primary mission went unmet. We're talking about undermining firefighting and fire mitigation efforts as we are approaching peak wildfire season. This is dangerous and unnecessary. And because the Trump administration continued to keep thousands of troops in Los Angeles, 2 weeks ago, I exercised my constitutional duty as a U.S. Senator to advise and consent to nominations in order to block the nomination of Lieutenant General Thomas Cardin. Lieutenant General Cardin currently serves as second in command of Northern Command, the combatant command that has overseen Trump's orders to militarize Los Angeles. But I want to be very clear about something. My objection is about more than Lieutenant General Cardin. None of what we are seeing in Los Angeles through this militarization is business as usual. Deploying the Guard against the wishes of the governor, against the wishes of the mayor, and against even the wishes of local law enforcement, the sheriff, the police chief. None of that is normal. So today, I am making it clear to all of my colleagues my intent to oppose any expedited consideration of this nomination until two conditions are met. First, that every last Guardsman and Marine must be released from this deployment in Los Angeles. Stop militarizing our cities and using our service members as political pawns. And second, I'll maintain my hold until I've been given sufficient commitments and assurances from this administration that no Guardsmen from other states will be sent to enforce the president's political demands on California. And until both of these conditions are met, I will maintain my hold on this nomination. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.
And you are watching live right now with leaders hitting the Senate floor on various debates as we wait for potentially another speaker to come up to the podium. Sometimes they take a few minutes, and then sometimes they're quick to jump up there and be the first to get onto the Senate floor. Let's go ahead and continue to listen in on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. All right, well, we gave that a moment, and it looks like they're taking a definite pause there on the Senate floor. In the meantime, Mayor Vi Lyles did officially file before the filing deadline, which is tomorrow, at the Board of Elections office. So she will run again for Charlotte mayor. This is the mayor speaking to local media right after she filed from yesterday, previously recorded on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
So you were friends with her, and you also worked.
We work together on the board here at the nonprofit organization, the Southern Pines Land and Housing Trust, and then we also engage.
All right, we are working on that source to refeed that. Playdeck was doing a little quirky dance there.
He's doing a little funky thing. So
Okay.
I'm not quite sure what's happening, Jane, but I'm going to figure it out.
So,
It's all topsy-turvy.
isn't it, though? All right, why not? Let you know that you're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus, and this is where
Topsy-turvy things happen.
it happens, and this is where it's allowed to happen because we roll with the punches, and we are non-scripted, so a bit of a reality show for you as the news happens, or get you caught up. We air the entire interviews where we can, so it is completely brought to you in its totality, and there is no potential leanings or what have you when it comes to entire interviews. You decide for yourself of what's being said, and that's what we do here on Impact News. So let's try this again. This is the mayor hoping to see
So you
what
were
she
friends
can.
with her, and you also worked with her.
Yeah, so we work together on the board here at the nonprofit organization.
That's strike two. But that's all right.
The good news is
We have something else.
House leaders.
House leaders.
That's Marjorie Taylor Greene talking now in the House.
Okay, so we go from the Senate to the House. Let's check this out on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
Postponed. It is now in order to consider amendment number 112, printed in Part A of House Report 119-199. For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Georgia seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I have an amendment at the desk.
The clerk will designate the amendment.
Amendment number 112, printed in Part A of House Report number 119-199, offered by Ms. Greene of Georgia.
Pursuant to House Resolution 580, the gentlewoman from Georgia, Ms. Greene, and a member opposed, each will control 5 minutes. The chair now recognizes the gentlewoman from Georgia.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As the House considers funding $831 billion to the Department of Defense for the funding of our great men and women in our military to defend our nation and our nation's interest, it's important to talk about the foreign aid that we are funding to foreign countries. The American people are $37 trillion in debt. $37 trillion in debt. The debt keeps rising, and the interest on our debt is at $1 trillion now per year. $1 trillion. My amendment would strike $500 million of military assistance to Taiwan. This is an increase of $100 million from fiscal year 2025 and will be used to provide a wide variety of assistance, including planes, drones, missile defense, munitions, and more. Listen to this, as we're giving an extra $100 million, making it $500 million in this Department of Defense appropriations bill, the entire defense budget of Taiwan is less than $20 billion. Our defense budget is $831 billion. It wouldn't be so high if we weren't giving foreign aid. We've given Taiwan over $2 billion in funding and munitions over the past 2 years. We've already given them $2 billion, but now we're giving them another $500 billion. Increasing foreign aid to Taiwan will only increase their reliance on the United States. And the United States should be serving the American people and stop enslaving the American people in massive debt that drives the inflation that is causing Americans to suffer, that is causing Americans to not be able to afford everyday life. The United States is $37 trillion in debt, and we can't even hardly afford our own massive military budget, let alone funding the significant portions of other countries, of foreign countries and foreign nations and foreign people that do not pay taxes here in America. We have so many of our own domestic problems here at home and should not be funding foreign countries, foreign aids, and quite frankly, instigating World War III with China. Before we start worrying about Taiwan's borders or Ukraine's borders or any other country's borders, we should be focusing on the continued security of our own border and deporting the criminals and terrorists and millions of people that invaded our country and are somewhere within our country after they invaded our own borders. Mr. Speaker, I reserve.
Gentlelady reserves. For what purposes the gentleman from California seek recognition?
I rise in opposition to the gentlelady's amendment.
Gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes.
I greatly admire the gentlelady from Georgia's passion for ensuring support for our overseas allies are a wise use of taxpayers' dollars, but support for Taiwan must be part of that equation. Just yesterday, the Trump administration released a statement of administration policy for the defensive appropriation bill, very supportive of the bill we produced. One of the very few areas the administration expressed any slight disagreement with our bill was wanting more money for Taiwan. The administration has proposed including $1 billion, while this bill provides $500 million. Now, had OMB delivered budget materials to us in time for consideration, we would have certainly taken a look at providing what they requested, but that wasn't the case. Supporting Taiwan in the face of unrelenting Chinese aggression is absolutely in the vital interests of the United States. I want to point out that Taiwan makes 90% of the world's chips and close to 100% of the highly needed chips for artificial intelligence and high technical devices. The funding will go a long way to make sure that Taiwan has the resources necessary to help prevent a Chinese invasion. That's the position of the Trump administration, and that's the position of this bill. With that, I urge a no vote on the amendment and reserve the balance of my time. And I yield, I yield 2 minutes to the ranking member, the gentlelady from Minnesota.
Gentlelady is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I am very, very proud of my vote to vote against the President's big tax package, which added $3.4 trillion debt.
We will get you back out to the House leader session in just a couple of minutes. But right now, 1:33, and you're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus here around the Carolinas. One area, we have so many areas, but a lot of areas are growing. One of them in South Carolina, Chester, and with that comes growth and needs, including safety and protective measures like our police and fire staff. So we want to bring in Anna King, because I know, Anna, you're working on a story today about funding to the Chester Police Department that is increasing. Tell me what you're finding.
Yes, I am. The City of Chester Police Department was just granted more than $300,000 in federal funding that they say will go towards public safety here. This funding will also go towards hiring 3 additional officers within the next 3 years, so that's amazing. But right now, I actually just finished speaking to county officials here just to get an idea on how this will help and impact the county in general, because I know different agencies report to different events or scenes, and it's really a collaboration effort. So he really spoke to that and what the county has to look forward to within the near future.
Wow, an exciting time for the area of Chester, and I know you're a South Carolina girl and a Chester girl. I mean, how is the growth? What are some of the growing pains and some of the challenges you feel are going to be part of the police department's challenges moving into the future?
Yeah, like you said, I'm from Chester County, so to be able to see this growth happen firsthand has been amazing. But just a few months ago, I spoke to some of the agencies here on how the growth is happening more than the resources are becoming available to the agencies here. So I also hit on that with the county here, just to be able to have this grant, how beneficial it would be for the different agencies and the relief they would see in hiring more staff and what they have to look forward to in the future here as the city here and the county here continues to grow and get the feed in really from Charlotte and the Rock Hill, York County area.
All right, very good. Appreciate you talking to officials there in Chester County and look forward to your story airing tonight at what time?
Yes, this will air right at 5. So, yeah.
All right. See you at 5 o'clock on WCNC Charlotte. We know you're taking a little time there out of putting your piece together. So appreciate you, Anna. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our Anna King just checking in from Chester County, South Carolina, as we continue to bring you the latest and greatest news here out of the Carolinas on 136 on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. From there, we take you back out to that House session happening live on Live Impact News.
For many students, and they're laden with student loan debt. According to American Compass in 1985, 40 weeks of a typical worker's income could provide the middle class essentials for a family of 4. But now, this requires over 62 weeks of income, exceeding the 52 weeks in a year. Life is unaffordable for Americans, Mr. Speaker. We're $37 trillion in debt. I urge my colleagues to vote for my amendment, and I yield.
Gentlelady yields. Gentleman from California.
Yield.
Gentleman yields. Question is on the amendment offered by the gentlewoman from Georgia. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair,
Mr.
the noes
Speaker,
have it.
I ask for the recorded vote.
The gentlelady asked for a recorded vote. Pursuant to Clause 6 of Rule 18, further proceedings on the amendment offered by the gentlewoman from Georgia will be postponed. It is now in order to consider amendment number 113, printed in Part A of House Report 119-199. For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Georgia seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I have an amendment at the desk.
The clerk will designate the amendment.
All right, time right now is 1:38 here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. It looks like North Carolina Governor Josh Stein is making the rounds in Western North Carolina, speaking to some local shop owners there to their growth and their rebuilding process after Hurricane Helene. Let's go ahead and check things out here live on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
Yeah. So the pillar underneath the bridge is right in the middle. There's a pillar right in the middle of this bridge right here, and so all of that just hit that. The DOT actually started to put it out in the water and sold that. Actually, most of the local folks just know that there is a city community and get some contact. You can see the bridge crew, and then there are, active recovery across the street here at Spring Street and then David Wagner's place and behind it. So there's a ton of cars back there. So it's coming to start for. Yeah, because we're not going to put it in the house. We're definitely going to go to the store first and need some help or whatever.
Yeah.
We'll turn it away.
What can I walk around the store?
Oh, absolutely.
Did you get a Don't Quit Small Business Initiative grant?
Yes.
Did that help?
All of it has helped.
Every bit as part of what you
Little bit
need.
has helped. We've been very blessed. We have been very blessed.
Thank you for
Yeah.
your stick-to-itiveness.
Well, thank you.
It looks great. I don't know what you feel like that, but
All right, friends, you can see that these are live pictures coming into the WCNC newsroom hot. So we are just taking this feed in as we see it. With Governor Josh Stein making the rounds up there in the western North Carolina area, this time in Hot Springs. And I was going to say, it looks like a Frozen picture, but I see legs in the background moving.
There's movement.
So potentially the camera was just put down on the floor. But again, Governor Josh Stein is up there continuing his tourism campaign, highlighting some of the areas there in the town of Hot Springs with Helene recovery efforts continuing.
Well,
that looks great.
This is as raw and real as you can get, people. This is why you tune in here, because you're only going to get a shot like this.
Only once in a lifetime. And we're going to bring it to you like that.
Stock shelf.
Isn't that nice?
We're working on it.
All right. Well, as we work on that, it looks like
show
Miss
must go on.
Levitt. It looks like Miss Levitt is
she
up.
started.
Okay.
Yep.
So Press Secretary Caroline Levitt now at the White House. She is giving today's afternoon press briefing. Let's go ahead and listen in here on Live Impact News on WCNC+.
Crisis has been defeated. Prices paid to American businesses for goods and services were flat in June, which is lower than all 50 forecasters in the Bloomberg survey predicted. And core inflation, which is the best measure of inflation, came in lower than expected again in the month of June. Since President Trump took office, core inflation has tracked at just 2.1% overall and has come in below or at economists' expectations every single month. Wages are growing at a strong pace and prices are falling for everyday Americans. We also saw prices for new and used vehicles and airfares drop last month. In addition, prices for gas, fuel oil, energy commodities, hotels, airfare, public transportation, and fresh vegetables are all down over last year. As we said all along, trust in President Trump. The American dream is back, and everyday families are already reaping the benefits of this incredible economic turnaround in just 6 months. President Trump has ended the era of economic surrender and implemented powerful tariffs to stand up for our workers and businesses and rebalance America's trading agreements. Despite all of the doom casting from the so-called experts claiming that these tariffs would be the end of the world as we know it, the opposite has occurred. Tariffs are not inflationary, as President Trump has said all along. In reality, tariffs are a source of massive revenue. We're seeing trillions of dollars in private investment pour into our country right now because the companies around this world want to make their products right here with American labor and not have to pay any tariffs at all. Customs and tariff revenue has already totaled more than $113 billion since President Trump entered office, helping to lead a budget surplus in June for the first time in nearly a decade. We are truly entering a golden age as a result of these pro-growth and America First trade policies. On another matter, yesterday in the East Room, the president was proud to sign the Halt All Lethal Trafficking of Fentanyl Act into law surrounded by angel families to help finally end the devastating fentanyl crisis that has ravaged millions of Americans. Under the HALT Fentanyl Act, anyone who possesses, imports, distributes, or manufactures any illicit fentanyl-related substances will be subject to criminal prosecution in the same manner as any other Schedule I controlled substance. This legislation will close the loopholes that criminals use to skirt around the law and make it easier for law enforcement to prosecute vicious traffickers who peddle poison in our communities. President Trump has always made tackling the drug crisis a top priority, and this important bipartisan legislation further follows through on that commitment. The complete and total success at our southern border that many in the media in this room continue to ignore is another example of the president keeping his word to families who have lost loved ones due to fentanyl, and it's another win for the American people. Customs and Border Protection just released the final operationalized stats for the month of June, and I must highlight some of these incredible numbers. There were only 6,072 Southwest apprehensions in June, 15% lower than the previous record that this president set in the month of March. To put that in perspective, the Biden administration routinely saw the same number of encounters in a single day, and on many days, that number was more than 10,000 apprehensions at the Southwest border. There were also 0 illegal aliens released along the Southwest border for the second consecutive month in a row. President Trump promised to end the illegal alien invasion, and he has delivered on that promise to the American people in record time. With the border sealed, deportations are ramping up. This past weekend, our brave ICE agents were arresting violent criminal illegal aliens all across the country. ICE Atlanta arrested an illegal alien from Mexico, convicted of attempted rape of a child in North Carolina. ICE Baltimore arrested an illegal alien from Guatemala who was previously convicted for sexual abuse of a minor in Maryland. ICE Houston arrested a criminal illegal alien from Mexico whose previous conviction includes aggravated sexual assault of a child in Texas. ICE Salt Lake City arrested a 32-year-old illegal criminal alien from Mexico who was previously convicted for child abuse and injury. ICE Baltimore arrested a criminal illegal alien from El Salvador convicted in Maryland for possession of child pornography. And ICE San Antonio arrested a criminal illegal alien from Mexico convicted of aggravated sexual assault in Texas. The men and women of ICE are heroes. They are putting their lives on the line every day to get the worst of the worst, these types of criminals, out of our communities and out of our country. And the president continues to strongly have the backs of all ICE agents who are doing their jobs to keep all of us, including everyone in this room, safe. The facility, one second. In other news, following President Trump's bold executive actions protecting American children from irreversible chemical and surgical mutilation, the largest provider of these barbaric practices will now be closing its doors. The facility in Los Angeles, California, is just the latest facility downsizing or eliminating their irreversible and harmful services that feed into the lie that you can somehow change a child's sex. The Biden administration peddled dangerous policies that defied medical science in favor of radical transgender ideology. But President Trump has put an end to that to ensure America's children's innocence is protected and our children can lead healthy and productive lives. Finally, last night, Senate Republicans passed President Trump's $9 billion rescissions package. This will help restore fiscal sanity in our country by rescinding billions in wasteful foreign aid and finally ending taxpayer funding for PBS and NPR, 2 media organizations that have ridiculously used federal dollars to push a partisan left-wing agenda for many years. The House should pass this rescissions package immediately and send it to the president's desk for signature. On another note, I know that many in the media have been speculating about bruising on the president's hand and also swelling in the president's legs. So in the effort of transparency, the president wanted me to share a note from his physician with all of you today. In recent weeks, President Trump noted mild swelling in his lower legs. In keeping with routine medical care and out of an abundance of caution, this concern was thoroughly evaluated by the White House medical unit. The president underwent a comprehensive examination, including diagnostic vascular studies. Bilateral lower extremity venous Doppler ultrasounds were performed and revealed chronic venous insufficiency, a benign and common condition, particularly in individuals over the age of 70. Importantly, there was no evidence of deep vein thrombosis or arterial disease. Laboratory testing included a complete blood count, comprehensive metabolic panel, coagulation profile, D-dimer, B-type natriuretic peptide, and cardiac biomarkers. All results were within normal limits. An echocardiogram was also performed and confirmed normal cardiac structure and function. No signs of heart failure, renal impairment, or systemic illness were identified. Additionally, recent photos of the president have shown minor bruising on the back of his hand. This is consistent with minor soft tissue irritation from frequent handshaking and the use of aspirin, which is taken as part of a standard cardiovascular prevention regimen. This is a well-known and benign side effect of aspirin therapy. And the president remains in excellent health, which I think all of you witness on a daily basis here. So the president wanted me to share that note with all of you. I'm happy to take further questions on it. We will provide the memorandum from the president's physician to all of you, as we always do. And we'll get to questions. Here in our new media seat, we have Frank Corva, who's the White House correspondent for Bitcoin Magazine, which comes at a timely week with crypto legislation moving across Capitol Hill. So why don't you kick us off, Frank, and thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it, Ms. Levitt.
Sure.
I was curious to hear if the president was in favor of removing any and all language around central bank digital currencies from the Genius Act, maybe as a means to get it across the line and get it on his desk. And then my second question was about something the president spoke about in this room. He talked about a $600 de minimis tax exemption for Bitcoin and other crypto spending. So I was just wondering if you could comment on those.
Sure. Well, the president did signal his support for a de minimis exemption for crypto, and the administration continues to be in support of that. We are definitely receptive to it to make crypto payments easier and more efficient for those who seek to use crypto as simple as buying a cup of coffee. Of course, right now that cannot happen, but with the de minimis exemption, perhaps it could in the future, and we will continue to explore legislative solutions to accomplish that. As for the central bank digital currency and the Genius Act, which you noted has passed through Congress and will be sent to the president's desk. I believe the House is voting on it. If they haven't, they should be passing it. We know we have the votes, and we expect it to get to the president's desk, and we are planning a signing ceremony tomorrow afternoon. All of you will get more details on that. This piece of legislation is going to make America the crypto capital of the world, and that's what the president promised. As for a central bank digital currency, the president opposes that. He made that promise to the American people on the campaign, and while it's not in this specific piece of legislation, he did sign a January executive order banning a central bank digital currency. The administration supports Congress's efforts to codify that executive order into law, and I believe there will be future pieces of legislation in regards to crypto that will be moving through Capitol Hill. The president looks forward to signing them, and he looks forward to the signing ceremony this afternoon. So thank you for being with us today. Sure. Jackie.
Thank you, Caroline. There's been a lot of discussion about the Epstein files and the president's comments yesterday calling it a hoax. Can you clarify which part of the Epstein hoax is the hoax part?
The president is referring to the fact that Democrats have now seized on this as if they ever wanted transparency when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein, which is an asinine suggestion for any Democrat to make. The Democrats had control of this building, the White House, for 4 years, and they didn't do a dang thing when it came to transparency in regards to Jeffrey Epstein and his heinous crimes. It was this president who directed the Department of Justice and the Attorney General to do an exhaustive review of all files related to Jeffrey Epstein, which they did. The Attorney General and the FBI, led by Pam Bondi, Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, these are great patriots, some of the most trusted voices in the Republican Party movement. It's part of the reason the president appointed them to these high law enforcement positions, and they spent many months going through all of the files related to Jeffrey Epstein, and they concluded what they found in that memo, which they drafted and they released. And so the president has been transparent. He has followed through on his promises to the American people, but he doesn't like to see Democrats and the mainstream media covering this like it's the biggest story that the American people care about. The president has been working so hard this week. On Tuesday, he went to Pennsylvania, where he secured $90 billion in investments for the Commonwealth, for the people of that state. After that, he came back to the Oval Office at 8 p.m. He went in there to whip votes to get the Genius Act signed into law. And because of his efforts, that bill is now going to be signed and passed. The following day, yesterday, he meets with a foreign leader, the King of Bahrain, to secure more investments into this country. And then yesterday afternoon, the president is in the East Room of the White House mourning with parents who have lost their children because of fentanyl, signing a bipartisan piece of legislation. And not a single cable network in this country took that event live and covered that event like they should. Those are the issues the president cares about. What could be more important to the American people than helping families who have lost their children? Those are the issues this president is going to remain focused on.
I understand he wants to move on from the story, but you do have some prominent figures, including the Senate Majority Leader, the House Speaker, voicing support for the files to come out. Representative Massey collecting signatures that would force a discharge petition for a vote on the floor for this. It doesn't seem to be going away. What is stopping the administration from just redacting any sensitive information, grand jury information, and putting out what is appropriate so that the American people can decide and then let this story die?
Well, in terms of redactions or grand jury seals, those are questions for the Department of Justice. Those are also questions for the judges who have that information under a seal, and that would have to be requested, and a judge would have to approve it. That's out of the president's control. He has said, in agreement with some of the leaders on Capitol Hill, that if the Attorney General and the Department of Justice come across any other credible evidence, they should provide that to the American people. The president has said that, and he agrees with them on that.
Why did you fire Maureen Comey?
The Department of Justice did, and I would defer you to them. Dasha.
Has the White House been directly in touch with some of the MAGA influencers that are still not satisfied with the administration's handling? And has the message to them been similar to what the president has said, which is sort of either let this go or we don't need your support?
Well, look, the president and this team are always in contact with the president's supporters, with voices of many kinds on both sides of the aisle. I think that's part of the reason this president is a great president, because he's willing to listen and hear other people's perspectives. But ultimately, he has led this country, not just over the past 6 months to historic success, but also through his first 4 years as president. And as the leader and the creator of the MAGA movement, he has led through these perilous times for our country based on instinct and in the best interest of the country. And as I always say, the American people should trust in President Trump.
And what on
John,
the Fed chair?
Go ahead, John.
Thanks a lot, Caroline. The president on Monday announced that if there's not compliance with Russia within 50 days, there would be increased tariffs. Can you explain how that works, first of all? What happens if Russia doesn't end its war with Ukraine in 50 days?
Well, in 50 days, as the president clearly laid out, if there is not a ceasefire agreement or a peace deal within that time frame, if Russia refuses to legitimately agree to a ceasefire, then they will face very steep tariffs, and they will also face secondary sanctions. So countries that are purchasing oil from Russia will be sanctioned as well, and of course that will do deep damage to Russia's economy. And I would just add that the president wants this war to end with a diplomatic solution. He's been pushing for it. This administration has spent many hours and a lot of time trying to solve this war very far away, but the president wants to stop the killing, and he wants to save lives.
As far
Reagan,
as the first part
go
of
ahead.
what you were saying, Caroline.
Reagan, go ahead.
I have two questions for you. It's just about, if I may, just about the tariffs, the first part. I get the secondary tariffs, but there was only $3 billion worth of trade between the U.S. and Russia in 2024. It's expected to be far less this particular year. On April the 2nd, both you and the Treasury Secretary said it's not necessary to apply any tariffs on Russia. You said that because of the lack of trade, it precludes, that was the word you used, any need for tariffs. Why now, and why do you think that that would make them cave and come to some sort of peace agreement as it relates to Ukraine?
$3 billion is still a lot of money, John, and it's not just tariffs, it's the secondary sanctions as well that will be implemented in 50 days. Reagan.
Thanks, Caroline. I have two questions for you.
Sure.
First on Congress. Congresswoman Salazar introduced legislation that would give some illegal immigrants in the country a path to citizenship. 10 Republicans signed on to what she's calling the Dignity Act. I'm curious what the White House's position is on the legislation and if the president would veto this bill if it made it to its desk.
From my understanding, the White House nor the president has actually read through this legislation. We've been focused on, of course, the One Big Beautiful Bill, which passed, which is another historic accomplishment of this president in record time. The Genius Act this week, the rescissions package, that's been the focus of the White House. But the president has made it very clear he will not support amnesty for illegal aliens in any way.
I want to give you a chance to respond to the CEO of NPR. She's claiming that the cuts to their network will, quote, be a real risk to public safety of the country. Congressman Murkowski has argued that public broadcasting stations save lives. Could you respond to these concerns?
The NPR CEO said cutting NPR will be a risk to public safety. I am not sure how NPR helps the public safety of our country, but I do know that NPR, unfortunately, has become really just a propaganda voice for the left. Just a few examples for you. In 2020, NPR refused to cover the Hunter Biden laptop scandal in the run-up to the election. They said their assertions don't amount to much, writing they did not want to waste the listeners' and readers' time on stories that are just pure distractions. That does not sound like an unbiased opinion. That sounds like a partisan opinion to me. And this is a taxpayer-funded organization. In 2018, that same CEO that you're talking about called the president in the Oval Office, who nearly 80 million Americans elected, she called him racist, shared a photo of herself wearing a Biden for President campaign hat, serves on the board of a Soros-funded activist group. In 2020, PBS's White House correspondent at the time characterized President Trump's speech then at Mount Rushmore as a love letter to white resentment, promoting the myth of America. In 2017, PBS devoted an entire panel talking about what it means to be woke and white privilege. In 2023, PBS's Washington Week Roundtable covered up Joe Biden's clear mental divide. That's actually quite the clip. I would encourage all of you to look at it. These are not honest news organizations. These are partisan, left-wing outlets that are funded by the taxpayers. And this administration does not believe it's a good use of the taxpayers' time and money. Ed Lawrence.
Yeah, thanks, Carol. I want to ask you about the Federal Reserve. So does the president believe that the slightly restrictive monetary policy stance right now, could that cause an economic slowdown? And if he does believe that, when?
What pause are you referring to?
No, could the stance of the monetary policy is slightly restrictive? Does the president believe that stance, the slightly restrictive stance, could cause an economic slowdown in itself?
I haven't heard the president discuss that specifically, but what I do know in regards to the Federal Reserve is the president's been very transparent about his displeasure with both the policies and the management of the Fed, and he spoke about that to all of you pretty extensively in the Oval Office yesterday.
Yeah, and last month, one more if I could. Last month, the Canadian Prime Minister said the president had agreed to a July 21st deadline to sort of work towards a trade agreement. That's 4 days from now. Could there be a trade agreement with Canada in 4 days?
Well, look, we'll see. The trade team continues to be very active in our conversations and discussions with Canada. The president himself has said, unfortunately, our neighbors to the north have been pretty difficult to deal with when it comes to matters on trade. But in trade, generally speaking, as you know, 25 countries have received letters thus far from the president directly with his big, beautiful signature on them, from Japan to Korea, South Africa, Kazakhstan, Malaysia, just a few countries, and Canada also received a letter for 35%. With that said, if countries want to have legitimate further discussions, the Trump administration and the president's trade team are willing to have further talks, but these letters these countries have been receiving are the deals. And as the president has said, those deals will be made. They are tailor-made to each and every country based on the United States' concerns and what's in the best interest of the American worker and the American people. Charlie, go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline.
No, I called on Charlie, but Deanna, you can go ahead too. Go ahead.
The president said that he floated the idea of a special prosecutor in the Epstein case. Can you confirm that? And has he asked the Attorney General to do this, to appoint a special prosecutor to look it over?
Well, the idea was floated from someone in the media to the president. The president would not recommend a special prosecutor in the Epstein case. That's how he feels. And as for his discussions with the Attorney General, I'm not sure. Deanna.
Caroline. Thank you so much. Do you know what the president's reaction was to Mike Johnson saying that he wants additional files released, the Epstein files?
Was there a conversation with Mike Johnson about that following his comments?
I won't discuss the president's private conversations with the Speaker of the House, but as I answered to Jackie's question earlier, the president has said if the Attorney General and the Department of Justice and the FBI have any more credible evidence in regards to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes.
All right, everyone, we're going to cut in real quick to the press secretary at the White House right now. We'll get back to her, but we do have a weather update for you right now. So we want to bring in part of our Impact Weather team, Lily Aldrich, who is in the Impact studio with us. Lily, great to have you.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate your time. I saw as I was driving in on 77 and 45 the dark clouds rolling in. I was actually stopping for a coffee, and one of the ladies inside was like, I think it's going to rain. You might want to get back in your car. And it did. And actually, there were some localized heavy downpours as well as I was coming in. So update us on what we're seeing above us right now in Charlotte. I know not everybody is seeing rain, but we do have storms kind of in the area right now.
Yeah, we're actually tracking a couple scattered storms at the moment. So ignore the severe thunderstorm warning. That is not for us. It just wants to pop up.
Yeah.
So mainly at the moment, we're tracking a couple areas. There's a few moving through the mountains right now, and as well as in the lower parts, but they look like they're starting to build a little bit, but they begin to fizzle out as I'm getting closer. They're very, very fast moving. So like, as you said, essentially you got in your car and by the time you were here, it's probably already past us at this point. I actually haven't looked outside just yet. But from my radar right now, it looks like they're all moving through. So this is that strong storm we just had in Charlotte. So let's look at our impacts right now. These are a couple of the counties areas that we're looking to see probably get some rain as long as these storms continue to brew on. But it does look like for the most part they are starting to fizzle out. So we should be okay for right now, but I know soon Brittany Van Voorhees will be here and she will probably give you a more extensive update on everything that's going on at the moment. But I will say the rain's going to be continuing pretty much all day today. That's what we're expecting. We have that 20 to 30% chance pretty much all day today, but it is bringing our highs down a little bit, not too much, but we still are going to be feeling that warm, muggy air pretty much. Staying in those low 100s for our feels like temperature.
Wow.
But our muggy meter is coming down just ever so slightly because of these storms. So hitting a little bit more in the low 70s, around 70 for the rest of the night.
Right on.
But we're going to be seeing storms pretty much every day this week. I know the next few days we are under a weather alert for heat, but we do still have that chance of storms. So this is our future cast right now. So this is tomorrow around 2 o'clock. And as we go on a little bit, 7 o'clock, we still have those chances for isolated scattered storms. We know just from being in the Carolinas, we always have that chance for storms pretty much every single day.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie, they pop up, then they go away.
They do.
Pretty much immediately.
It's
so
pretty
that's
quick.
Just our regular everyday chances. So here's our 7-day right now. We have that chance of storms every day, like I said.
Right.
Tomorrow's looking a little bit hotter than the rest of the week, but it should be cooling down as we get into the beginning of next week. But I am going to pop this radar back up. So we should be able to have that streaming radar for you guys as for the rest of the night. So if anybody wants to check any storms that are moving through their area, that would be the best way to do it on WCNC Plus.
Awesome.
We'll
Yes.
just keep it up the whole time.
We'll just
Lily.
do that.
Thank you.
Or you can download the WCNC mobile app as well, and you can get that interactive radar straight to your phone. That way, you don't even have to tune in all the time. If you don't want to, it's up to you. Or you can keep both up at the same time as well.
You should
All
just keep us on all the time.
You can just do it all the time, even at work. Don't worry about it. What your boss says, just do it anyway.
Just keep us in the corner. It's going to be fine.
We'll give you permission for it. Lily, thank you so much. And I know, yes, Brittany has talked about the heat and humidity that is continuing to build, but obviously Friday and Saturday are the 2 days that we are looking out for. It's the feels like temperatures as you spoke of. So again, tune back in at 4, 5, and 6. We'll have an updated forecast for you. Lily, appreciate your time. Thank you so much. We're going to go back quickly to Caroline Levitt at the White House, giving us the briefing of the day at the White House.
Interim president of Syria a couple of months ago, he described him as a young, tough, attractive guy. After the latest clashes in Syria over the last few days, does President Trump still support Syria's interim president?
The president still supports Syria's pathway to a peaceful and prosperous country, and you received an update directly from the Secretary of State on the ongoing situation between Syria and Israel. I spoke to him myself this morning to get an update, and as soon as the United States became involved in this conflict, we were able to de-escalate, deconflict. That seems to be continuing. Syria agreed to draw back their their troops that were in the area where that clash was ongoing, and we continue to be very actively monitoring the situation. The president wants to see Syria become a prosperous and stable country, and by the lifting of the sanctions on Syria, he's giving them a real chance to do that, and he wants to see that through. Andrew, go ahead.
So on Tuesday, the president told a very detailed story about his uncle, noted scientist John Trump, and Theodore Kaczynski, the late Unabomber. He said that Dr. Trump taught Ted Kaczynski. Ted Kaczynski was not identified as the Unabomber until 1996, 11 years after John Trump passed away. It would have been impossible for John Trump to have ever discussed the Unabomber with the president. So what was he talking about? And I have one follow-up.
Andrew, with so many issues going on in the world, I'm a little bit surprised you would ask such a question, although I'm not sometimes coming from you, I will say, but I'm willing to give you an answer. Nevertheless, the president's uncle did, in fact, teach at MIT. He was a very intelligent professor. The president's very proud of his family. In fact, the president has a letter from his uncle on the MIT letterhead that sits in the Oval Office dining room. Maybe we'll let you see it sometime. Elizabeth.
Caroline, one more.
Elizabeth,
will the
go
president consider pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell
Elizabeth,
if the Epstein case is a hoax?
Okay, I'll start off with the president said last week he would not be getting involved in the New York City mayoral case. If that mayoral race, if that's still the case, given his history drawing a large crowd in New York City, what's his reason for staying out of it in that way?
Well, look, I think the president reserves the right to get involved in races or not get involved in races, and he's made the decision not to weigh in on the New York mayoral race, as you rightly pointed out, although he has gone as far to say he absolutely does not want to see Zemdami elected, who is a known communist who supports the abolishment of private property, the defunding of police. He has made very well-known anti-Semitic statements. It would be a disaster for New York and for this country, and I think it's quite telling that this individual, a known communist, has been spending time in Washington this week meeting with leaders on Capitol Hill. This is truly where the Democrat Party is headed. Clearly, they learned nothing from November 5th in the president's overwhelming victory. Mary, go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline. I want to backtrack to the hospitals that have stopped providing transgender surgeries and hormones for kids. On this front, does that have anything to do with the DOJ's subpoenas last week? Should we expect any more hospitals to be shutting down their programs? And I wanted to also ask what you make of all these media reports, especially the AP, which I noticed, which portrays these children as losing something that's saving their lives.
Yes, I think the president spoke a lot about this issue, which is a political issue, but also really a cultural issue that impacts children and families. He talked about it a lot on the campaign, and I think he was quite surprised by the uptick we were seeing in the embracement by the Democrat Party when it comes to the chemical castration and mutilation of young, innocent bodies. And so the president made it a very early priority to sign very strong executive orders to cut off the funding for any hospital or any medical facility in this country that provides such barbaric procedures. And as a result of that strong policy and the president's strong common sense position on this issue, we've had such an overwhelming response, which is great for children in Arizona. Phoenix Children's Hospital has stopped providing puberty blockers and hormone therapy to minors. In California, Stanford Medicine ended sex change surgeries for minors. Children's Hospital Los Angeles is closing its Center for Trans Youth Health and Development surgical program. In Illinois, Lurie Children's Hospital Chicago stopped sex change surgeries. Again, let's think about what we're talking about here. Sex change surgeries for minors. These are barbaric practices that no child, innocent child, should have to endure. And the president wants to protect the innocence of children, and I know the vast majority of Americans support him in that effort. This is a wildly popular and common sense endeavor this administration has taken, and we've seen many of these medical institutions have followed through with the president's executive orders, but we'll continue to take further action on this important issue. Garrett.
I too, if you'll indulge me, on the rescissions package, I wonder what the White House makes of this theory that it increases the odds of a shutdown. The theory is basically, why would any Democrat vote for a bipartisan spending deal with Republicans if Republicans can turn around and claw the money back the next day?
Look, $9 billion worth of crap that it was in our federal funding that is now being rescinded. This is a good thing for the American people and the American taxpayer, and I think our Office of Management and Budget Director was saying this process should be more bipartisan. Democrats, there was a time in this country where Democrats too cared about getting rid of waste, fraud, and abuse in our federal spending. I think every American agrees the government spends way too much money on things that don't matter. Some of those things include PBS and NPR, or for instance the Democracy Fund, which was funded to the tune of $83 million through the Department of State, but they were giving hundreds of thousands of dollars for gender equality and empowerment hubs in Yemen, $3.9 million for strengthening information integrity, equality, and democracy for LGBTQI population of the Western Balkans. These are not good uses of the taxpayer funds, and Republicans are proud to lead that effort, and we wish more Democrats would join us in that.
I wanted to follow up on the Maureen Comey question just to clarify. Did the White House have any knowledge, or did the president sign off on her firing?
This was a decision that was made by the Department of Justice.
There was an agreement that was made between Immigration and Customs Enforcement and the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare Services regarding access to Medicaid information for 92 million Medicaid recipients around the country. That includes health information. So how does that not violate HIPAA violations and privacy concerns, for example, of American citizens?
I'm going to have to defer you to Immigration and Customs Enforcement on that. I'm unfamiliar with that agreement that they made.
Thanks, Caroline. Two questions. Russ Vought said today he's going to be looking into cost overruns in the Fed's renovation projects. Is there a deadline for him to come back with findings to the president?
I don't believe there's a deadline the president has set for Russ Vought, but I think, again, this is a good use of taxpayers' time to look into this project that is millions and millions of dollars over budget. It's for a big, beautiful mansion for the federal chairman, reserve chairman, and I understand that it costs much more than it did the beautiful palace that many of you joined us at when we went overseas. So it's completely unnecessary, it's overpriced, and I think it's a good thing the administration, led by the president, is looking at.
If there ever were to find wrongdoing or fraud, would the president reconsidering firing Jerome Powell?
Look, it's a hypothetical question. We'll see where it goes. The president spoke about how he feels on this matter yesterday.
Sure. Thank you so much, Caroline. So we saw Ambassador Huckabee arrive to Prime Minister Netanyahu trial to show his support. Does the president plan to impose any kind of sanctions against the Israel judicial system?
I don't have any update for you on that or any announcement on that front. I don't believe so.
Does the president believe that justice has been served in the Epstein case?
Look, the president believes that he directed the Department of Justice to do an exhaustive and thorough review, and they did that. And they all agreed, the FBI director, the deputy FBI director, the attorney general, on the memo that they drafted and they released.
Thank you, Caroline. Just a follow-up on Reagan's question. Representative Salazar's bill, it grants illegal aliens with legal status for 7-year increments. It also gives permanent path to residency for so-called dreamers. And, President Trump and Labor Secretary Chavez, who previously co-sponsored a version of this bill when she was in the House, they've spoken about a work deal similar to the bill, I believe. What's the difference between a work deal and amnesty?
Look, as I told Reagan, the president, the White House have not reviewed this specific piece of legislation. It's just not where our focus has been. But the president, for one, has been very clear he does not support amnesty. We'll go to, look at some friends in the back. Brian, go ahead.
Back to the room. Thank you very much.
You didn't show up early enough to get some good real estate up here.
I love it. Any update on the auto pen? I know that there was the DOJ and some others were looking into the thousands of documents that were signed off just before Joe Biden left office. Any update on the auto pen?
Yes. I'm not laughing at you. I'm just laughing at how far away you are, and you're going to need to get some microphones back there. On the auto pen investigation, yes. The White House counsel's office has launched their own investigation into former President Biden's usage of the auto pen. We have requested some documents from the National Archives, and again, as I've said many times from this podium, and the president has said as well, it's incredibly important that we get to the bottom of who really was at the tip of the spear in the decision-making process here in the White House, because former President Biden himself admitted to the New York Times, I understand he never gave interviews when he was here, but now all of a sudden he wants to give one, and he said that he did not actually review every single pardon that he signed on his way out the door. That's incredibly concerning, and I can tell you it's something this president would never tolerate. This is a president who is signing things all the time. Any document that has legal implications, this president's signature is on it because he's the one making the decisions. It does not appear that was the truth in the previous White House, and I know the American people want to receive answers on who was running the show, because the decisions that were made in this place really destroyed our country, and we deserve to get to the bottom of it. Mark, in the back.
Thanks. Some Christian groups are complaining that they are not able to get visas as quickly to travel to Israel, and it's been elevated to Ambassador Huckabee's station. Is the White House aware of that? Does it have any reaction to that? And is that part of the president's disappointment with Netanyahu's government?
Look, I'm not aware of that, Mark, but I'm sure, again, our National Security Council is, and also the State Department. As you know, travel visas roll through Secretary Rubio's shop over there, whom we work very closely with. So we will check in on the matter. But I know overall this president and the administration do want to streamline the visa process to make it easier for both Americans who want to travel abroad and people abroad who want to come to our country the legal way. Go ahead. I was going to the gentleman above you, but go ahead, Libby, and then you can go.
Sorry. Okay, two questions for you. The first is, during the Hill Nation Summit, Secretary Noem suggested there could be some changes to TSA's liquid limits. Is the president aware of that? Is that an idea that he's backing? And what would that timeline and the changes look like?
Sure. I would defer you to the Department of Homeland Security, but I did see Secretary Noem's comments, and I think it's great that on day one she asked TSA, what are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? How can we make air travel more efficient while maintaining utmost security for American passengers and travelers? And I know they announced no more shoes, or you don't need to take off your shoes anymore at the airport, which I think is welcome news to all of us who travel a lot. But further guidance or decisions, of course, that's in the Secretary of Homeland Security's overview, and I would defer to her.
And the other question for you is on Bondi and Burgum's trip today to Alcatraz. I'm curious what the funding is going to look like for that, and who the president does want to see incarcerated there, if it were to become.
Sure. Well, this was an idea of the president. He spoke about it in May, and he directed his administration to review a reopening plan for Alcatraz if it is possible, which is why the Attorney General and the Secretary of Interior have traveled there today. They are touring the site, and if the Alcatraz prison is reopened, it would be under the purview of the Bureau of Prisons, and the Secretary of Interior also would play a big role in this as well. So they're there to review the site today, and I'm sure you'll hear more from them on it later. And just to follow up, Libby, on who the president wants to see housed in Alcatraz, the worst of the worst criminals in this country, both American criminals who convict heinous crimes, but also illegal alien criminals before deportation as well. Go ahead.
The State Department yesterday urged the Chinese Communist Party to cease its campaign to eradicate Falun Gong, a peaceful spiritual practice. With the anniversary of this brutal persecution approaching, does the White House have a message for the CCP on this?
Well, I will get you one, and we will get back to you. Go ahead. We'll take. Go ahead, and then go ahead. Sure. I've never called on you. Why don't you go ahead? In the red tie.
Me.
Dr. Harper behind.
Thank you.
Yes. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Me. Thanks.
Yes.
Thank you, Caroline.
Yes, you. What's your name?
My name is Matias. Thank you.
What's your outlet?
I'm from Record TV, Brazil.
Great.
Brazil's President Lula recently said that President Trump was elected to govern the United States and not to act as the emperor of the world. And he also emphasized that Brazil is open to negotiation. I'd like to hear what you have to say about it, what the administration has to say about it, and specifically what areas are currently open to negotiation in the light of the 50% tariffs that were announced.
Sure. The president is certainly not trying to be the emperor of the world. He is a strong president for the United States of America, and he's also the leader of the free world. And we've seen a great shift across the entire globe because of the strong leadership of this president. In regards to Brazil, the president sent a letter to Brazil announcing their new tariff percentage. He also directed our USTR Ambassador Jameson Greer to launch an investigation of Brazil under Section 301 of the Trade Act of 1974, designed to address unfair foreign practices that are affecting U.S. commerce. For years, we know Brazil's digital regulations and weak IP protections have undermined U.S. tech and innovative companies, and their tolerance of illegal deforestation and other environmental practices puts American producers, manufacturers, farmers, and ranchers who follow better environmental standards at a competitive disadvantage. So this president always acts in the best interest of the American people and the United States of America, and he will continue to do so. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll see you later. I appreciate the enthusiasm today.
All right, just wrapping up this briefing at the White House. We are waiting the State Department briefing. Apparently there could be a briefing from Tammy Bruce, so we'll give you this live look inside. Normally, once the White House briefing is done, the State Department kicks off theirs in the coming moments, so we'll continue to watch and wait for that. We do have a number of things going on right now. We do know House leaders are on the floor discussing certain bills right now, or they have been. In fact, Marjorie Taylor Greene from Georgia was just up a couple of minutes ago. We also have something from Vi Lyles that we can also show you in a couple of minutes in case we need to. But for now, we'll dip into the House leaders' discussion and this meeting as it stands, and then we'll dip out when we need to and get back to the State Department.
He's not speaking. We'll go to the next one. It is now in order to consider amendment number 277, printed in Part A of House Report 119-199. For what purpose does the gentleman from Florida seek recognition?
I have an amendment at the desk.
The clerk will designate the amendment.
Amendment number 277, printed in Part A of House Report number 119-199, offered by Mr. Stubbe of Florida.
Pursuant to House Resolution 580, the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Stubbe, and a member opposed, each will control 5 minutes, and the chair recognizes the gentleman from Florida.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It is our duty to afford the American people the assurance that their tax dollars are spent fulfilling the needs of the American people, not funneled to terrorist proxies who threaten our very existence. My amendment would ensure not a single taxpayer dollar would be sent to the Lebanese armed forces, a military force riddled with Hezbollah sympathizers, and acts as yet another proxy of the Iranian terror regime. To say that Hezbollah and its allies do not have any control over the Lebanese state is just categorically false. Hezbollah and other terror groups that operate freely throughout the country have launched countless attacks upon our ally Israel. In the past year alone, Hezbollah has indiscriminately launched nearly 2,000 missiles into Israeli territory, attempting to replicate the horrific atrocities that occurred on October 7th. Yet the Lebanese military has consistently failed to take any substantive action to eliminate Hezbollah from its control over the Lebanese state. Not only does Hezbollah and its allies control dozens of seats in Lebanon's parliament, but they literally sit at the helm of the military force that the American taxpayer has been propping up since 2006. As a matter of fact, Nabi Berri, the Speaker of the Lebanese parliament, is a Hezbollah sympathizer himself. As the head of the Amal movement, his group joined Hezbollah in their war against Israel and launched attacks upon the IDF. Like Hezbollah, Amal is just another proxy of the Iranian terror regime. Why should we trust the Lebanese government that our assistance to their military won't be funneled to terrorism when their own Speaker of Parliament is a terrorist supporter himself? While the Lebanese military alleges willingness to disband and disarm Hezbollah, their actions prove otherwise. The Lebanese military is conveniently absent in Hezbollah strongholds and is far too reluctant to take any meaningful action to eliminate Hezbollah once and for all. That's why I introduced legislation provided for an 8-point plan to condition aid to the Lebanese military, including provisions that would disband Hezbollah, eliminate all coordination with and support from the Iranian regime, and end persecution of American citizens who've advocated against Hezbollah's influence over the government of Lebanon. This bill, the PAGER Act, offers a clear roadmap to strategically realign the Lebanese government to no longer threaten the United States or allies and interests in the Middle East. In fact, a significant portion of Lebanon's military expenditures don't even go towards its defense. Over 70% of its budget has consistently allocated for personal salaries and excessive benefits, including domestic servants and drivers for high-ranking officers. American taxpayers expect their hard-earned tax dollars to be spent on American interests, not armed Mercedes and other luxury goods for Lebanese generals. This really should be a bipartisan issue. But where are the Democrats complaining about Lebanon's human rights atrocities? The Democrats were silent when the Lebanese military shot protesters, silent when they forcibly repatriated Syrian refugees, and silent when the Lebanese military failed to prevent Hezbollah from indiscriminately targeting our ally, Israel. Yet they tell us to turn a blind eye and let the Lebanese military abuse the generosity of the American taxpayer. We cannot, in good conscience, continue sending U.S. taxpayer dollars to Lebanon when they are complicit in the empowering a terrorist organization whose primary mission is to destroy America and Israel. Money is fungible, and every dollar funneled to Lebanon is another resource aiding Hezbollah's operations, undermining regional stability and threatening Israeli security. Until they finally eliminate Hezbollah and stop reporting to their handlers in Tehran, any more funds to the Lebanese military are simply unjustified. I encourage my colleagues to recognize this pressing danger that exists within the Lebanese military and vote for my amendment. I reserve.
The gentleman reserves. For what purpose does the gentleman from California seek recognition?
Madam Chair, I claim the time in opposition.
The gentleman is recognized.
Madam Chair, I yield time to my colleague from Illinois first.
The gentleman from Illinois is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I rise in strong opposition to this misguided amendment. The longstanding U.S. military investment for the independent Lebanese Armed Forces, also known as the LAF, has worked to support U.S. security interests in the Middle East for close to 20 years. As co-chair of the U.S.-Lebanon Friendship Caucus and a member of the House Intelligence Committee, I work closely with the brave men and women in the U.S. military who work alongside the LAF to ensure robust oversight of U.S. military funding and training resources. The stability of the LAF is important not only to the security of Lebanon, but also our neighboring countries and the United States. That stability is more important than ever as the LAF works to permanently disarm and destroy Hezbollah's presence in Lebanon, building on the tremendous success of Israel in weakening Iran and eliminating Hezbollah's terrorist leader network. Hezbollah is now at its weakest point. This is a tremendous opportunity for the LAF and for the people of Lebanon to root out terror proxy influence from within their borders. The LAF has an active mission and expectation from the United States and others to fully disarm Hezbollah, and they're working to accomplish that every day. Eliminating military funding from the LAF now will only serve to further embolden Hezbollah and allow them to regroup. This cannot happen with Hezbollah on their back foot. U.S. support and funding for the LAF is more important than ever. This amendment is misguided. To prove that point, I would like to reference an article from earlier this week, from July 12th of 2025. This week, the Trump administration and the State Department and the DOD approved $100 million to go to the LAF for the Super Tucano aircraft. And so in listening to what the State Department said regarding the sale of military equipment to Lebanon, this is their statement. The proposed sale will support the foreign policy and national security of the United States by improving the security of our partner country, Lebanon, that continues to be an important force for political stability and economic progress in the Middle East. And I would like to insert this article dated July 12th of 2025 for the record, which shows that the current Trump administration supports military funding to the LAF. I oppose this misguided amendment, and I yield back.
The gentleman's request will be covered by General Leave.
I reserve.
And gentleman reserves.
All right, we're going to pull away from the House floor right now as their business continues. We do want to talk to one of our reporters about a story you will see here on WCNC Charlotte tonight at 4, 5, and 6. And it's an issue dealing with the federal government right now and the voter registration records, It seems like 100,000 voters, more than that, will actually have to verify their registration. And Julie Kay is following this story today. So this is impacting a lot of folks across North Carolina. And not to mention, we have obviously the 2026 elections coming up. Some big races will be on that ballot, including Mecklenburg County, City Council, that type of situation. So this could be a big impact for a lot of people.
Yeah, this upcoming election and then 2026, anything from there is going to be a really big deal. So make sure if you're on this list that you get that verified. However, I do want to make sure that people know what the Board of Elections said today when they were announcing this project is this does not mean that if you're on this list, you're going to get removed from the voter roll. That's what people are really afraid of, and there are still some concerns about how this is being done. Essentially, what will happen through the Board of Elections is they will notify you via mail. Those will likely come around August. If you get a letter, you can then mail back the information. You can go to your local Board of Elections and talk about it at your county level. Or you can do it online, actually. So there's multiple avenues you can re-verify this information. Most of these people are people who, there's kind of two camps here, people who registered before voter ID or your social security number, last 4 digits, were required as a part of the process, or they're people who gave all the information properly and then it somehow along the way there was a database issue and things just don't match up. So this first round, this 103,000 people that we're talking about, those are going to get their letters in August. Those are mostly the people who registered before. There is another camp of people that I mentioned that, they did everything right. They will still get a letter eventually, but they don't necessarily have to do anything. It's just more of a notification that, hey, we're going to fix this. We've got all your information, but yes, you were on this list. Let's say you get a letter, though, and you don't respond to it. Like I said, it does not mean you get deleted from the voter roll.
Right.
What will happen is you can still go come November and vote in your local election, but you will have to use a provisional ballot. That's what people use when they're not presently registered. That means that they will verify the information kind of after the fact, and that's when your vote will be counted. So
Now,
you won't get removed.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. So good information for folks to look out for in August. Look in the mail for this letter to potentially come to individuals. And it's not just Mecklenburg County, too. It could be individuals all across the map, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
People all over the state.
So I want to bring back to the conversation of, Judge Jefferson Griffin, because people are like, well, this sounds familiar. Well, it is, because it's like the same argument, if in fact it's not the exact same one in some respects, to what Judge Jefferson Griffin did in his race at the Supreme Court level with, the name drops me now. What was the lady's name who was elected?
Allison Riggs.
Allison Riggs,
Yes.
I'm sorry. So talk about this lawsuit from the Trump administration and really what's behind it.
Yeah, so this is pretty much the same argument that Judge Jefferson Griffin made on the same scale directly from the Trump administration. Now, this Board of Elections says we want to work with this and fix this before the election, so the consequences are not the same. Judge Jefferson Griffin was trying to overturn after the fact when we did know, for the most part, that these voters, it was a database issue. It was not their fault. They could go back and show, hey, I actually do have my information.
Right.
So this is something that's more preemptive than that thing, but the argument is still the same. I actually did speak to a woman who was on Judge Jefferson Griffin's initial list. She actually went to the Board of Elections, like I said, and was like, hey, here's all my stuff. They fixed it for her. She is now no longer on this list that has come out, and she will not be receiving a letter in the mail. And I know I mentioned August, but you can also go online now. We have that linked on our WCNC app and our website. So if you want to go check now, you're like, I'm anxious about this, you can just go check. That entire list is posted publicly.
Okay.
So it'll be interesting to see. I know people are still concerned that, like, well, people will hear this and then they just won't go out and vote. Again, if you're on this list, you can still vote, even if you don't get a chance to verify ahead of time.
Right.
Although that'll make it smoother for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, and it's, as you said, it'll probably make it a lot easier for folks if they do this ahead of time. Again, and we always talk about scams in situations like this because a lot of folks have been getting texts, right, about look at your registration, this and that. We just want to be clear that you will get a letter. You will not get a call, a text, nothing like that, right?
And that's correct. And the best thing to do, I would say, is just to go to your local county Board of Elections in person. If you have concerns about it, like I said, you'll get a letter. But if you have concerns, you can verify yourself online, and then I would just go talk to a person at the local county Board of Elections. They're always very, very helpful.
Yeah, and accessibility is an issue there. Hopefully you can give them a call, try to double check as well. I mean, obviously, if you have access to email, those type of things, you can try and find that information there. So, Julie, anything that I'm missing that I didn't ask you that you think is important? I don't want to give too much away. Obviously, we'll see the story tonight at 4, 5, and 6, but I did want to ask that question, that if I missed anything, that you kind of just elaborate. Anything else?
No, I think that for the most part is really the main message. I would
Okay.
say top things are if you get a letter and you don't verify, you can still vote. The sooner you get verified, the easier that process is going to be. And then, yeah, there are still some concerns for people that people will feel disenfranchised, that they won't go out into the vote. But I do think that getting this information out now is the best way that we can make this upcoming November election as smooth as possible. You mentioned 2026 as well. So we got multiple things that we're working on. And of course, with November coming up, kind of a tight time frame here. So the earlier you do it, the better.
Perfect. All right. And again, tune in 4, 5, and 6 for Julie's full report. A lot of folks, more than 100,000 folks, are going to need to re-verify. And again, cannot say this enough. We've got huge elections ahead. 2026 is going to be a big year. So you do want to make sure your information is correct so you don't have any other issues on the back end heading into 2027. Julie, thanks for your time. We'll see you tonight, and we'll watch out for your report. Always enjoy your beats and following on the politics and for everything that we need to know. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Colin.
All right, we are going to go back to, I do believe, the House floor, Carlene, if I'm correct. And check in on the day's business once again. They were talking about a couple of amendments, and we will double check and see whatever other live local things we have for you and pass those along to you, but we'll send you this now live.
Before I withdraw this amendment, Mr. Chairman, Chairman Calvert, I ask you to commit to working with me on the continued LC 130 recapitalization project as you have so graciously in the past, and I yield my time to you.
I look forward to working with the gentlelady. We need a place, we need those aircraft to land them in Greenland.
Thank you. Thank you so
I
much.
yield.
A mission of our president, of course. I want to say thank you, and I withdraw this amendment and yield back my time. Thank you so much, Mr.
The
Chairman.
gentlewoman yields. Seeing no other member seeking recognition, the amendment is withdrawn. It is now in order to consider amendment number 293, printed in Part A of House Report 119-199. For what purpose does the gentleman from Wisconsin seek recognition?
Madam Speaker, I have an amendment at the desk.
The clerk will designate the amendment.
Amendment number 293, printed in Part A of House Report number 119-199, offered by Mr. Tiffany of Wisconsin.
Pursuant to House Resolution 580, the gentleman from Wisconsin, Mr. Tiffany, and a member opposed will each control 5 minutes, and the chair recognizes the gentleman from Wisconsin.
Mr. Chairman and Madam Speaker, my amendment would prohibit the Department of Defense from creating, procuring, or displaying any map which depicts Taiwan as a part of the territory of the People's Republic of China. The House approved a similar amendment as part of the State Department Appropriations Bill last Congress, and today's amendment would simply extend this policy to the Department of Defense. This is not a controversial amendment, since all of us know that Taiwan is not, nor has it ever been, part of Communist China, even for a single day. The people of Taiwan elect their own leaders, deploy their own armed forces, conduct their own foreign policy, and maintain their own trade agreements with other countries. By every measure, Taiwan is a sovereign, democratic, and independent nation, and any claims to the contrary are simply false. Since the 1970s, America's so-called One China policy has acknowledged Beijing's unsubstantiated claims over Taiwan. This is an antiquated and dishonest policy, and it is one that we should abandon. While my amendment will not end that misguided policy, it will at least require that the maps that we use reflect a simple reality. China is China, Taiwan is Taiwan. I ask for a yes vote on my Honest Maps amendment, and I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman reserves. For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Minnesota seek recognition?
Madam Chair, I rise in opposition to this amendment.
The gentlewoman is recognized.
I understand why the gentleman from Wisconsin is offering this, and I don't agree with the spirit in which it's being offered. But the Department of Defense and the administration of this Congress and myself, I've been pretty clear on my opposition of the unwelcome assertions of China's control over Taiwan. As a former social studies teacher, geography was part of what I would teach. I would never use in my classroom display a map showing rightly that China is in possession of Taiwan. But let me take the teaching just one step farther. This amendment would prevent the Department of Defense from buying or displaying a map that shows how China views itself in the world, how China is putting out mis and disinformation on what they think the world should look like according to them. It would force the department, in my opinion, to put its head in the sand when at the military academies showing China's view of the world and why we have to work so hard to defeat that. So I hope we can all agree it's important to know what our allies and our adversaries are thinking, that we have adults at our military academies that can sort out the difference and see the differences in the maps. And as a geography teacher and a person who used to use maps, that is my only opposition to the gentleman's amendment. I know what he's getting at. I don't disagree with it, but sometimes you have to have what your enemy and how they view the world and what they're showing the world in juxtaposition for how we view the world and how Taiwan needs to remain independent. Congress and the department should focus our time and energy on being clear about China with respect for international boundaries and rule of law. So I just, as a geography teacher, I had to say something. And with that, I'm just going to yield back. I thank the chair.
The gentlelady yields back her time, and the gentleman from California is recognized. Oh, the gentleman from Wisconsin is recognized.
You're going to yield me time.
I will yield the chairman.
The gentleman from California is recognized.
I certainly rise in support of the amendment. The amendment prohibits the expenditure of funds to create, procure, or display any map that depicts Taiwan as part of the territory of the People's Republic of China. Let's be clear. Taiwan is not a part of the People's Republic of China. We should not appease the desires of the Communist Chinese leadership by pretending that it is. Our map should accurately reflect this reality. I urge my colleagues to support the amendment, and I yield back the balance of my time to the gentleman.
The gentleman yields, and the gentleman from Wisconsin reserves his time. He's the only one that controls time.
I would like to yield 1 minute to my friend from Arizona, Mr. Biggs.
The gentleman from Arizona is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you. Taiwan's a great friend of the United States, and it's a unique friend to Arizona. The CCP uses every tool it can, including maps, to undermine truth and assert illegitimate claims over sovereign territory. Congress should not fund anything that supports the CCP's disinformation efforts. And now is the time for strategic clarity with rising bellicosity coming from the CCP. We cannot allow for authoritarian regimes to dictate how our government communicates facts. And if we truly stand for freedom, sovereignty, and truth, then we must also stand with Taiwan. And this is one way to do so, and I yield back.
The gentleman yields back his time, and the gentleman from Wisconsin is recognized.
I'll just close by saying I appreciate the consistency by the gentle lady from Minnesota, because she said the same thing a couple years ago. But this body was excluded back in 1979 when the One China policy was implemented by President Carter, and it's up to this body to make sure it claims its rightful place in foreign policy when we have an issue like this before us. And she talks about the spirit of this amendment. I would say this amendment is issued in the spirit of freedom. And that is all that Taiwan is looking for, is to defend its freedom, and it should be able to do it. With that, I yield back.
The gentleman yields back. The question is on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Wisconsin. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the amendment is agreed to. That underlining really helps. Thanks. The chair understands that amendment number 303 will not be offered. For what purpose does the gentleman from California seek recognition?
I move that the committee do now rise.
The question is on the motion that the committee rise. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. Accordingly, the committee rises.
All right, everybody, we are going to take you away from the House floor as they move some things around. We'll continue to monitor the situation there in the Capitol. But we do know, as you can see in just a minute, there it is. A nice look over uptown right now. Beautiful camera shot.
Looks nice.
Yes, it does look nice. It is hot and humid, though.
It's sticky.
It is, as it has been throughout the entire
sticky
summer.
in here. It's sticky out there.
It's sticky, and it's actually going to get worse. Not as bad as like what we saw like almost a month ago at the end of June. But as we go into the weekend, actually Friday and Saturday will be our hottest days that we have seen. So it is just going to build. You can see storms are building in the background of our camera as well. So they are out there. Let's check in with Majestic Storm to see what we can expect going into the nighttime hours.
Well, good Thursday afternoon to you. I'm WCNC meteorologist Majestic Storm. It's been a really quiet start to the day, and most of the day should stay a little something like this. Generally, a nice mix of sun and clouds for your Thursday forecast. Still some small chances for a pop-up shower or a thunderstorm, but if you plan on going for your afternoon walk or maybe you're heading out to the golf course today, temperatures are still going to be warm, rising into the 90s. With that added humidity today, it's going to feel like we're back into the upper 90s, low 100s. You can see those rain and storm chances. They're low, but they're not zero. So it could be like yesterday where one neighborhood you're seeing a whole lot of sunshine, the next neighborhood over, all of a sudden you get one of those isolated downpours. Yesterday we topped off at 92 degrees. It was a warm summer day, and today we're cranking up the heat and humidity even more, but we're really just getting started. We're now going to be settled into kind of this extended stretch of heat and humidity with weather alert days starting tomorrow because of that. Now, if you're in the mountains for your Thursday, this is where it's feeling pretty nice, comfortable if you want to work outside in your yard. A good mix of those upper 70s and low 80s today, 79 out there in Boone, about 80 degrees for your forecasted high in Fleetwood. As we're looking towards the foothills, staying mostly dry, partly to mostly sunny skies as well, turning up the heat a little bit more, upper 80s, low 90s, about 90 degrees today in Morganton, 94 from Lincoln to Gastonia. That's where we should top off today as well. But remember, that's before you factor in the humidity. Once you add in the humidity, it's going to feel like we're back into the upper 90s, low 100-degree temperatures. Out there in Monroe, low 90s for you, much of the same out towards Lancaster, 94 for Rock Hill today. And notice, over the next 5 days, our heat index values, what it actually feels like on your skin the moment you step outside, likely going to be into the triple digits for multiple days in a row, especially Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and even Monday. We have multiple weather alert days because it's going to be very, very hot, especially starting as we're heading to our Friday. Between 1 p.m. in the afternoon and 5 p.m., that's when the heat really gets cranked up. You can see that putting things into perspective over the next 10 days. Tomorrow, it's going to be nearing 100 degrees for our actual air temperature. 97 degrees will drop down a little bit for our Saturday, mid-90s, but if you're heading out to the lake or maybe just having a nice pool day, couple of things you're going to want to know. The heat and humidity will be the #1 thing that you need to be ready for, but we also have rain and storm chances over the next few days, including today, about a 30% chance today and tomorrow. But notice next week, on Monday, it's a 60% chance, 40 by Tuesday, so more widespread impacts as we're heading into early next week. In addition to that, today, the severe weather threat is very low, but it's not zero. So if we get all of a sudden an isolated storm that pops up, it could be a stronger one, especially for areas northwest of Charlotte. And if all of a sudden one of those storms does form, it could bring some stronger winds. Even could see an isolated flooding concern there. You can see areas shaded in yellow. That's what we'll be monitoring for this afternoon. So up towards our mountain locations from Morganton over towards Boone. Here's our futurecast. You can see most of us, though, we're not going to have to worry about that. Generally just partly to mostly sunny skies, but those sneaky afternoon storms likely going to pop up here and there. They're going to be very sporadic. There's 5 o'clock right around dinner time or so. Then it all starts to clear out as we're heading throughout the overnight hours, and then tomorrow we're heading into the weekend. That heat and humidity it's on, it's going to be a WCNC weather alert day tomorrow because of all of that heat and humidity. You can see our 7-day forecast here, feeling pretty good for your Thursday. If you have any plans today, I think for the most part we'll be fine. We'll just have to watch for those isolated storms, but stay close to the WCNC weather team Friday through Monday as we will be weather alert. Hope you have a good rest of your day.
Okay. All right, guys. So as you can see, 97, 95. Friday and Saturday feels like temperatures. That's going to be the main issue. And the nights they are in town, those games going to be hot. So if you are going to be out there, yes, hydrate. And there's, I mean, they do have shade out there, right? But
they do.
In your seat, it's kind of hard to find.
Exhaustion could happen. I mean,
Happens
Crystal
quick.
He was telling his board. He's a meteorologist. He's been
Yeah.
in this business almost 15 years.
Yeah.
And he's like, I got heat exhaustion the last 2 years.
Yep.
So
It happens
even those who
very
know
fast.
better,
Yeah.
it happens.
Well, and right on cue, Tammy Bruce has hit the podium for the
That's
Department
right.
of State. So let's go to this as she begins her daily press
I
briefing.
certainly am not when I'm there and talking to him. Yes, very impressive. So I do have a few comments for you as we begin the briefing here today at State. To begin, an update on the situation in Syria. The United States unequivocally condemns this violence. All parties must step back and engage in meaningful dialogue that leads to a lasting ceasefire. Why? Whoever's got the music going, that's a lovely touch, but we really need it to be turned off. All right. I'm going to start again at the stop. Please turn off your phones. Please turn off the sound. Do not disturb. You don't have to have it on airport, but although I could say that we are an airplane, but we're not. Let's start again, shall we? And welcome aboard to everybody watching at home. We know C-SPAN covers us live as well. We appreciate that. And of course, we're a little late today, but actually, every time is the perfect time because our colleague Caroline had her later briefing, so here we are right now. So to begin, an update on the situation in Syria. The United States unequivocally condemns the violence. All parties must step back and engage in meaningful dialogue that leads to a lasting ceasefire. In a tweet this morning, Ambassador Tom Barrack, also, of course, our special envoy for Syria, said, "Thankful to all sides for their break from chaos and confusion as we attempt to navigate all parties to a more durable and peaceful solution in Syria." Over the last 48 hours, the United States has led diplomatic efforts to promote real de-escalation and peace. As Secretary of State Marco Rubio noted yesterday, we have engaged all the parties involved in the clashes in Syria. We have agreed on specific steps that will bring this troubling and horrifying situation to an end tonight. This will require all parties to deliver on the commitments they have made, and this is what we fully expect them to do. We are actively engaging all constituencies in Syria to navigate towards calm and continued discussions on integration and a stable, more prosperous future for all Syrians. To that end, we are calling on the Syrian government to lead in determining the path forward. Now, today, the United States also sanctioned TDA leader Hector Rutherford Guerrero Flores, also known as Nino Guerrero, and 5 other key members. The Department of State, through the Transnational Organized Crime Rewards Program, managed by the Bureau of International Narcotics and Law Enforcement Affairs, is offering a reward of up to $5 million for information leading to the arrest and/or conviction of Guerrero. TDA is a foreign terrorist organization that originated in Venezuela and has launched a campaign of terror throughout our hemisphere. We are determined to protect Americans by eliminating TDA's vicious criminal activities. In addition, yesterday, the United States, the Kingdom of Bahrain, and the United Kingdom marked the UK's ascension to the Comprehensive Security, Integration, and Prosperity Agreement, CCPA. This milestone framework builds on the historic Abraham Accords and is aimed at fostering broader integration in the Middle East, bolstering mutual deterrence against external threats, and expanding cooperation to advance security, stability, and prosperity in the region. And finally, for today's topper, starting today, Secretary Rubio decided to end the ordered departure status for the U.S. Mission Iraq personnel, including personnel at the U.S. Embassy Baghdad and U.S. Consulate General Erbil. Personnel who are temporarily relocated outside of Iraq will begin a gradual return to U.S. Embassy Baghdad and Consulate General Erbil. The State Department's travel advisory for Iraq remains at a level 4, which of course translates to do not travel. We remain strongly committed to advancing our policy priorities in Iraq, strengthening Iraq's sovereignty, advancing U.S. business interests, and engaging with Iraqi leaders and the Iraqi people. The State Department, U.S. Embassy Baghdad, and Consulate General Erbil will continue to closely monitor and assess, as you might imagine, the security situation across Iraq and the region. And that is the conclusion of my announcements. And I'm ready to take your questions. And we'll start with the young lady who was in the White House first. So we'll start with Nadia right now.
Thank you. I want to follow up with what you said. The president spoke with Prime Minister Netanyahu. He just issued a statement to say he's very sorry about targeting, or not targeting, but by attacking this church. He said it was done by mistake. But the State Department and the White House put a priority on protecting minorities, especially Christians. How can you make sure that Christians in Gaza are protected? We have 3 people dead, including 88-year-old woman from Ayyad family. And to make sure that these people are not actually targeted, but as the Prime Minister said, because there have been many, many incidents before, Tammy, as you know. They targeted the Russian Orthodox Church before.
Yes, well, in this case, of course, it was an accident. I think that the response from Netanyahu is an appropriate start. Of course, we share condolences to the citizens, the civilians' deaths at the Roman Catholic Church. We have asked that Israel investigate the strike still, of course, and ensure that all civilians, including Christian civilians, remain safe. That's one of our, of course, regular asks of everyone as we try to stop war and engage with ceasefires because of the horrible dynamics that exist across the world when this goes on. There's no benefit to this, any kind of military action, no real benefit at all. So Israel did express a deep sorrow over the damage and over any civilian casualties, and the IDF, they do note, is investigating. And of course, for further information, we refer you to the government of Israel. I can tell you, as I think Caroline also noted, that President Trump also spoke to the Prime Minister. And I think it's an understatement to say that he was not happy, that this is, again, the kind of thing that reinforces his commitment to peace around the world. I've spoken with the Secretary today at length on a number of issues. Obviously, everyone is appalled. I can tell you, for those who haven't seen it and for those at home, the Israeli Foreign Ministry has said, Israel expresses deep sorrow over the damage to the Holy Family Church in Gaza City and over any civilian casualty. The IDF is examining the incident, the circumstances of which is still unclear, and the results of the investigation will be published transparently. Israel never targets churches or religious sites and regrets any harm to a religious site or to uninvolved civilians. The IDF has a statement as well. The IDF is aware of reports regarding damage caused to the Holy Family Church in Gaza City and casualties at the scene. The circumstances of the incident are under review. The IDF makes every feasible effort to mitigate harm to civilians and civilian structures, including religious sites, and regrets any damage caused to them. So this is, I think, a good indication of their realizing what the world expects, what we expect, and of course appreciating POTUS's contact as well, which is helpful for all of us. Nadia, one more. Yes, ma'am.
Syria. Yesterday, the Secretary told us at the Oval Office that the conflict in Sweden is between the Bedouins and the Druze. Do you rule out any involvement of foreign fighters or ISIS fighters in what we have seen, witnessed in the last 3 days, including atrocities against civilians?
Well, there will be some continued, obviously there will need to be some continued investigation of the nature of what's occurred. We saw, of course, the President and the Secretary note, both of them, that they've been involved, and certainly our Special Envoy, Tom Barrack, is also, of course, the Ambassador to Turkey. And we know what we know at this point. Clearly, there has to be more investigation into the nature of how this started. But ultimately, the discussions have created a dynamic where the Syrians have withdrawn. Israel has not continued. That has ceased. And of course, there continue to be skirmishes. This is a rivalry between the Druze and the Bedouins that's, I think, 400 years old. This is, though, one of those challenges that, if perhaps confronted in the modern age with new possibilities of living together, that is the kind of thing we now know must be addressed. So we've had some success. You heard in my topper the Secretary's continued optimism, and Ambassador Barak, of course, is returning and will be involved. And of course, I can tell you also that we unequivocally condemn the violence that has unfolded there. All parties must step back and engage in meaningful dialogue that leads to a lasting ceasefire. Of course, we know those lines from various other locations, but we also have committed to them, and we engage with them as we are also in this case. Over the last 48 hours, the United States has led the diplomatic efforts to promote real de-escalation and peace. We are actively engaging all constituencies in Syria to navigate toward calm and continued discussions on integration and a stable, more prosperous future for Syrians. And that continues. That has been the mission of Envoy Barak, and it remains the mission of President Trump and Secretary Rubio. All right. Yes, ma'am. Humaira.
Hi, Tammy. I just want to understand, my colleagues asked about this yesterday, but did you guys get to the bottom of the misunderstanding that Secretary Rubio talked about yesterday? We see it in a different wording again today in Ambassador Barak's tweet or post. Confusion. What was this misunderstanding, and did the U.S. government intervene in a way to assure that this misunderstanding will not happen going forward again?
You seem a little skeptical, but I don't know if I know some people at home can see some of the reporters here in the first two rows.
I guess that's a prerequisite in this job.
Yeah, yes, perhaps it is. But for those who don't know, the language from Ambassador Barak's tweet: thankful to all sides for their break from chaos and confusion as we attempt to navigate all parties to a more durable and peaceful solution in Syria. And I noted to you already the language from the Secretary. The confusion, as was conveyed to me and was, I think, generally understood, was this ancient rivalry between the Druze and the Bedouins, and violence ensuing, the Syrians moving to that area to quell and stop that violence, and the Israelis who see that occurring to the Druze community and their concerns, then entered what they assessed was something larger than what, or even not what it was at all. I am not a party to the full discussions or to the details of obviously of all of these groups and nations, what their choices were. But when the Secretary chose and the President chose to use the word miscommunication or misunderstanding, obviously here now from the Ambassador, chaos and confusion. The good news is, the story is, it stopped as within the management of that larger conflict. Again, there's still skirmishes and other issues that, as we've also noted, the Syrian government is going to have to lead. With obviously there'll be other involvements, but lead into this de-escalation and to the stability. So this is a reminder, and you weren't here, but as I noted to one of your colleagues who asked as well yesterday, that this is a region and certainly a nation that has been unstable, which is why we talk about stability, for generations. There have been rivalries for hundreds of years. We are optimistic people. Humans tend to be that. And our effort is to try to bring this together and to stop it. The answer to whether or not there's hope is the fact that there has been a response, that the parties have acquiesced and are dealing with that response, and that we are committed to seeing this problem that emerged, and now we know what to work on to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Right. My follow-up to that is related to something that you just said. U.S. is pursuing stability in Syria, as far as I can tell, lifting of the sanctions and...
I promise you that's what we're pursuing.
Right.
Yes.
So does it support Israel carrying out these military operations when it deems necessary?
I can tell you regarding Israel's intervention and activity is the United States did not support recent Israeli strikes. We are engaging diplomatically with Israel and Syria at the highest levels, both to address the present crisis and reach a lasting agreement between the two sovereign states. President Trump has outlined his clear vision of a prosperous Middle East and stable Syria at peace with itself and its neighbors. Peace among neighbors, including Israel and Syria, is a critical component of this vision. So I won't speak to future conversations or past ones. What we're dealing with now is this particular episode, what was required, and I think we've been very clear about our displeasure. Certainly the President has, and we've worked very quickly to have it stop. All right. Yes,
Thank
Lily.
you, Penny. Just back to your topper on Syria. You mentioned you condemned...
And let's stick with Syria for a bit while we're in it, just so you know, and then we'll continue on, of course. Go ahead.
You mentioned that you condemn the violence. Are you specifically talking about the Druze Bedouin
All the violence,
or also
all
the
violence.
Israeli
Clearly, this started between those two groups, and what we know is that violence erupted. Well, there's a continuing long issue between those two tribes, and then two major nations began to engage. Obviously, we then engaged, and it stopped, and that is, for me, a very, very proud moment. It's a remarkable situation being here at the State Department and here at this podium and taking this job, is to be an observer of actions that can be taken that stop what could end up being major global horrible issues. And we continue to work on some. We have been successful on others, but it was a very heartening and wonderful to see the work in that regard. So I think that it's the violence in general that appalls the President, that disturbs the Secretary, and it is what we all want, even though we've grown used to it. But it's possible. And if anyone can make it happen, if any country can, it's the United States, and it's the President, and it's Secretary Rubio. All right, yes, Sean.
Could I follow up your answer that you gave to the member said that the United States does not support recent Israeli strikes? Can we say that the United States won?
Oh, boy.
Yes,
I know, it was suddenly the voice of God. Don't want to give you any hints there.
That's
though.
always my aspiration.
Yes, there we go.
Just going back on a serious note, you said that the United States opposed the Israeli strikes.
Yes.
Two parts to that. Was there a message beforehand that Israel should not do this, and now going forward, will the U.S. continue to reject Israeli military?
Well, as you know, I won't speculate. I'm not going to comment on what was or was not said prior to the situation that we're dealing with currently, nor will I speculate about every situation is different. I am not going to speculate or guess, none of us should, at what the leaders of our country might do under any other certain circumstance.
Well, just also at the beginning, you were talking about how the Syrian government needs to lead a future path. I forget
Yes.
the exact words. But is there a long-term solution? I mean, you mentioned that the United States helped defuse the situation, but this is essentially the Syrian forces leaving part of what is part of Syrian territory. Are you seeing a long-term demilitarization? Is that what the U.S. would
Well, I know it's about Syria taking the lead in determining the path forward. And so that was a very specific way that it was put. And I can't, I think there's a few people who have an idea of what's possible in what seems to be maybe an impossible situation, but we don't see it that way. And I think that's where new ideas, new solutions can emerge, is when you don't give up to what you think is impossible. So I can't comment on what the strategy would be, what individuals imagine. It is a region that is ancient, and the people are ancient. And it is the modern world, and I think we now provide a chance, our generations do, to have a different kind of path forward.
Just one more point on that.
All right.
I mean, one of the points that Israel is making is that there are jihadists involved in this, and that some of the violence has been against Druze. Is there any concern about linkages potentially between the Syrian government, and is that something that the U.S. has seen? Is that something that the U.S. would become?
Well, I know that from the beginning, the issue was, of course, working with the new Syrian government on dealing with the problem of ISIS. That's I think, a unifying dynamic. We know that ISIS has been an issue. We know in that region, my goodness, look at what we've been facing with Iran and state sponsors of terrorism, and what we've all experienced for quite some time. So we know that has to be part of which I won't preview anything for you because I'm not a part of that team, but we know that matters deeply to Envoy Barak, and everyone is clear-eyed about what this is, and yet it won't stop them from trying. But the good news is that the good and the bad news is that we have enough history to know what's solvable, what isn't. I recall before President Trump's first term that this idea of getting rid of ISIS as it was moving around the globe, that it was going to be impossible. It would take 30 years. This is just a giant, horrible thing that we would just have to learn to adapt to, but it could never be crushed. President Trump did not believe that and chose to move forward anyway, and I think it was about 18 months, 2 years at the most, and he eradicated ISIS. And so we know that there's in order for something new to happen, you've got to have the idea first. We have that. Again, we're not naive, but we are optimistic. I think that is the history of the American people, and we're going to continue on that. We have good representatives helping us with that as well. Yes, sir.
You said that the U.S. didn't support the Israeli strikes, and you were asked about any conversations beforehand, but what about afterwards? I mean, Caroline Levitt had said that the president called Prime Minister Netanyahu, or they spoke on the phone today, in which he condemned the strike in Gaza, but was that lack of support for the strikes on Syria, was that also conveyed to Prime Minister Netanyahu?
Well, I don't know. I wasn't on the call. We were not informed of those details. Caroline had what she chose to share with you, but so I won't get ahead of guessing what the conversation was.
And just one other
Yes.
question about, I mean, you've said in the church strike, you've asked Israel to investigate that. Ambassador Huckabee said yesterday that the US has asked Israel to investigate the death of Saif Musalleh, the Palestinian American who was
Yes.
killed. And yet, in the same 24-hour period, he tweeted that there was a travesty of justice by the in terms of the investigation of Benjamin Netanyahu. He called them the insanity of out-of-control prosecutors. So I'm just trying to understand how a system that appears that you don't have faith in over the investigation of Mr. Netanyahu is good enough to investigate the deaths of Palestinians.
Well, I would not want to characterize the ambassador's comments, but they were his remarks. If you want him to elaborate on those, you can. What I speak to here is the mission and the statement and the actions that the State Department and the President of the United States has taken and that the government is taking. And not just these two issues, but our overall view and vision of what's going to be important in the world and how we react to it. So I'm not going to characterize or place the ambassador's comments in any kind of context.
That was his retweet of the president.
Yeah. Well, it's not where I'm going to go. It's not what we're discussing today. Right? All right. Yes, Michelle.
I have a different topic.
Well, do we have any more Syria? All right, we'll come back. So, Michelle, you'll be the start of that? Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tani. On the path forward and also the long-term solution, which Sean asked you, do you believe that the only path forward in Syria is that the all constituency or the minority group is to integrate with a centralized government? Or have the recent escalation, changed your view? And do you think that federalism or some sorts of autonomy is a viable solution for the current situation in Syria?
Well, part of starting something like this so new is I don't think it's really ever happened before, is looking at the nature of what works and what doesn't. Clearly, the people of Syria view themselves as Syrians. That is part of, I know, what was discussed earlier, the nature of how you're going to have a government like that for that nation be able to represent and include everyone. The issue was including them. Of course, every government is going to be, and should be, the decision, how it's formed, the nature of what it represents, should be the decision of the people of that country. But you've got to have a chance to start with the very basics, which is stability, infrastructure, some modicum of peace that you can rely on. And we expect, again, there's been instability. So the stability part you work on and you assess it as it continues, and then you see what needs to be addressed. And that's what we're helping with. So it clearly is going to be up to the Syrian people. But the way that it would work is that because we've seen the history of when everyone is not included, of what can happen. But that is, again, this is where the negotiators, those who are wise enough to be envoys, who who delve into this, which is the hardest work in the world. We'll leave that to people like Ambassador Barrack and President Trump and Secretary Rubio.
Yeah, help me if I'm understanding you correctly. Does that mean that the U.S. is not opposing federalism or autonomy for the Syrian future?
I'm not going to comment further than just the theory of trying to get some stability here and the inclusion of the people who are in Syria, without going into at all what the details might be or what choices might be made. That's not my place, so I won't comment on that. Saeed, are you with Syria yet, or no? All right. Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you, Madam Bruce. Ahmad Shahidov. My question is about the very most discussed topic in South Caucasus. There is an ongoing discussion in South Caucasus about the opening of Zengezur corridor between Armenia and Azerbaijan, and many believe...
All right, so we'll stick with Syria for the moment, and I'll come back to you. I know that's a large issue, but we will do that. Oh, yes, there we go, right there in the middle.
Yeah, thank you, Tommy. It's still about Syria. So how the Secretary is happy or convinced that the Syrian government is the right one at the moment for Syria, looking at what's happening with the Israeli and the Druids?
Well, again, I would just caution in any dynamic that is this fluid and changing, where it's new, it's the kind of new idea and commitment brought by the United States and President Trump. I would caution to not see something that occurs that has been by our government characterized as a mistake or a mischaracterization or a misunderstanding in the midst of something that is also part of a 400-year-old tribal conflict. But the story is, it was stopped. We were able to stop it. We know that it's not going to be utopia the moment we all agree, let's do this. And then it happens. It's the idea, and then it's the implementation of that idea. And that is the commitment of Ambassador Barrack and, of course, of our leadership. So I would say that the issue is whether or not there would have been a response to this, whether or not there are relationships and partnerships that would listen to each other. And it occurred. Obviously, there's more work to do, but it's worth doing. And I think that's our approach.
Yeah, follow up only. And if I may, Tommy, thank you. And how concerned is the Secretary that these clashes, let's strike, that the Israeli had in Damascus may jeopardize the peace, the potential peace deal between Israel and Gaza?
Well, this is a whole region that has, it's ancient, the beginning of time, with clashes throughout and with miraculous governments throughout, just like the rest of human history. We're looking at this clearly. There's Ambassador Barrack. We have a very specific conversation going on about Gaza and Israel's situation. Certainly, we have Russia, Ukraine, and other aspects where there's new peace deals, new ceasefires that we also discuss. But let's not conflate all of them. There are different situations with different triggers, different dynamics. And that's why we look at each one differently, and we're working on each one with a different goal that is particular to that situation. All right, now, so we will go. Let's go to Michelle. We'll go to
the rescission package because
All right.
it includes a lot of money for the United Nations. I'm wondering if it's going to affect UNHCR's efforts to resettle Syrians back into Syria, which they call this a historic moment to do that. And I also wonder, there's big cuts in peacekeeping, and it includes some language that is critical of the peacekeeping mission in Congo. Yet the peace deal that you guys negotiated relies on the UN peacekeeping operation in Eastern Congo to help implement it. So I wonder if you've changed your mind.
Well, of course, that's a dynamic regarding the White House and the bill regarding the budget, et cetera, the rescission bill, for sure. At the same time, and a little birdie told me that a lot of journalists were meeting and had a briefing on the issue of the UNHCR, yes. Right? And I don't have that answer for you yet. I want one for you. It's literally, I need to find the answer to the details of that. We're going to take that back and get that for you. And since there are others interested in that as well, we'll make sure others receive it if you want to contact us with that information. Regarding comments made in a bill, the nature of certain cuts, each situation is very unique and different. As of course, as you know, we've just completed essentially a several month-long reorganization and some cuts regarding how foreign aid is applied and implemented and distributed. I would just repeat that even though there are cuts and we are looking at reforming certain dynamics, it doesn't mean that our efforts will stop. It doesn't mean because something looks different that it's going away. It might be handled differently, but I can't speak to the specifics that you mentioned, but what I do know that what matters to the Secretary and what we've expressed regarding that region and the work we're doing there is that what we need to have done will get done and will be funded and we'll move forward with it. All right. Yes.
Thanks, Sam. I'm hoping to ask about an update to the situation where the 500 tons of high-energy biscuits are set to expire in a warehouse in the Middle East. The statement from the department yesterday said that the U.S. would always look to try to avoid any kind of food waste, try to repurpose it. Is there any indication that repurposing might happen at this point?
Well, there's a lot of interesting numbers that have been moving about with this story. There's some basic responses I can give you, including the fact that if something is expired, we will destroy it. It's a matter of whether or not it's safe to distribute. But I think what's important and what part of the story is here, and a lot of people don't know this, is that we have been feeding the world's hungry for generations. And we've done it because we can. The issue is are we doing it as efficiently as we can and as smartly as we can? We, as an example, distribute roughly 1 million metric tons of food aid every year, which is reflective of the American people's generosity. Of the 1 million tons of food distributed annually by the United States, 500 metric tons of high-energy biscuits also is part of what your question is in the news has been that they were destroyed and they were expired, and yet that 500 metric tons represents less than 1% of the food aid that we distribute around the world. I would also note the difference in its situation why those biscuits were stored. Americans don't realize, perhaps many do, that we store emergency food all around the world for people in the event of a catastrophe in that region. So we have food that we purchase and it goes to, let's say, the World Food Program or to another distributor assigned to specific sites for distribution. And then we have food that is assigned to be held in the event of an emergency. Those are emergency frameworks, and they are not distributed. They're there in the event that obviously something horrible happens and you need that kind of nutrition. That's where those biscuits were. That was 500 metric tons of what they say HEB, high energy biscuits, and that is less than 1% of the food aid that we distribute, as I've mentioned. The best analogy I can use is that I think most of us have, I do, I'll just refer to myself, a lot of batteries in a battery carrier that I don't use, that they're there in the event of an emergency and the electricity is down, and I know what needs batteries and what doesn't need batteries. And if you wait long enough and there's no emergency, they start to do weird things. They start to sometimes bubble over and get a little corroded.
That's why you should use them.
That's right. Candles, perfect in earthquake country also. Yes. Batteries, though, we have them. They're situated. Other survival stuff, you situate it, and then you have to get rid of it if fortunately you don't have to use it. That's this story. The story here is the nature of the commitment of the United States to food aid, which we all commit to, but also still, like everything else, doing it more efficiently, with less expense, but with the same framework. So, yes, I mean, there's a dynamic there where we're going to destroy, and we have before, the emergency food rations in particular that might expire, and then replenish that.
So,
All right, well, we'll finish her questions, and then I'll come to you, Matt. Yeah,
We're
we'll
just
finish. Go
going to say
ahead.
that Deputy Secretary Regas did say yesterday on the Hill that this was something that he found distressing. He said it appears to be a failure. Just this dynamic here, is there any effort within the department now to look at expiration dates at those warehouses around the world that are hosting these high energy biscuits and make sure that a dynamic like this doesn't happen again in the spirit of efficiency?
Yes, DMR Regas, he's a deputy secretary here at the State Department. He said a number of other things indicating, and I'll read part of his testimony to you as well in this regard. He said, we're still the biggest giver of aid anywhere in the world by far. So this is a media account, so I'd want to look into, forgive me if I don't take everything in the media that's reported as 100% factual, but I do want to find out what happened here and get to the ground truth. So the fact is that what I've described to you is the case. The numbers that are being reported are wildly incorrect. Without the context of what the food is there for. It is, considering the nature of the situation, I would say that this, if the implication there was that this was due to the USAID action or a pause or something, I would say that that is incorrect. But the deputy, I think, noted the fact that there's a number of things that can affect this, and I've described some of them to you. At the same time, we are involved in looking at all of our systems. That's been the case from really day one. That's been a commitment of the Secretary, not just of aid technically and the structure of the building, which we've been just through, changing that for more efficiency, but that is, I think, a hallmark of what matters to Secretary Rubio and something that we will continue to do, which inevitably would address this dynamic as well. But I have to say, for 1%, when you are moving 1 million metric tons of food around the world every year, for 1% to be the factor that has to get destroyed is a remarkable record. And if there is a suggestion that we're not doing it right or we're not doing enough, it is fair to say that we will not be lectured about the issue of food aid or what we do for the rest of the world, being the world's largest supporter of people with food and other aid. We have been, we are now, and we will be. All right.
So, Tim.
Yeah. Yes, Matt.
Sorry.
Oh, don't be sorry. You're never really sorry. Go ahead.
Well, maybe.
It's all right.
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
I just, are you making a case that that these biscuits were not needed, that there was
Oh, well,
no
that's
need for
that's
them?
very clever.
No, I'm just trying to figure out,
I'm presenting the context that we have stations of food around the world that are specifically aligned to being held for an emergency, while we then distribute 1 million tons of food around the world in immediate need frameworks that are destined for a certain place. It would, and then that gets replenished. So it's not that it wasn't needed. It served its purpose. It was needed. It was needed to be held in the event that there was an emergency. And that was accomplished, and it will continue to be accomplished.
So you don't think there was an emergency in Gaza or in...
Oh, yes, and you know, it's interesting. We contribute and have aided emergencies around the world through this time. We were not waiting for anything in a holding station. As I don't know, I won't say it again. We are the largest giver of food aid and provider of aid around the world, certainly of food aid, 1 million metric tons of food. So it's not like because those biscuits are in the emergency section that we simply went home to watch television. We are the largest provider. We are proud of that, and we will continue to be.
Are you committing that this administration will continue to provide 1 million metric tons of
of emergency food aid
Well,
around the world?
yes. You rarely ask me to speculate or on a hypothetical situation. We are going to continue to be the world's largest giver of aid and of food. We are going to be doing it in a smarter, more efficient manner, but it is our nature to do so. And I've said it from the beginning. You guys have heard me. Yes, things are changing. They look different. But we are still in the foreign aid business, and we're going to be better about it. I think that's pretty clear. Saeed, you've been very patient, sir.
I think you actually related to Matt,
Sure.
this topic in a way. Yesterday, Tom Fletcher, the UN Emergency Relief Coordinator, and Catherine Russell, the Executive Director of UNICEF, they basically told the UN Security Council, they painted a horrific picture of how children are suffering in Gaza. They're saying that, the war is going on, but the children are bearing the brunt of it. There's about 17,000 kids have been killed since the beginning of the war. They spoke of no water or no clean water. They spoke of waterborne diseases because it's not clean and so on. No fuel. The hospitals are not working.
Saeed, we know. War is horrible. We know.
Yeah,
we know.
And she said that, like on daily basis, 28 kids get killed, since October 7th until now, on average.
Yes, it's horrible. It's horrible. He has a question, though. We'll get to it right now, I trust.
My question to you.
Yes.
Is the United States government happy with the level of aid that is going on, the level of water that is going on, the level of fuel that is going
All right.
in, or are we likely to see some changes that will
yes,
impact
I understand.
the lives of kids?
Saeed, in every war, in every conflict that is going on this day, someone is suffering, someone is being killed, a child is suffering, a child is dying. We've seen the images. That is one of the issues we talked yesterday about, the immediacy of media. We now see those images. I remember growing up and we were shocked that we could see some of the footage of the combat in Vietnam. That was a turning point I was a child, I had no idea. My mother was appalled. And things now, you get it on your phone in a moment. We know the suffering. I have this conversation with you, Saeed, every time I see you. We're both, I understand your concern. I've committed my time in this season to address that as well, as have everyone else in this building, as have Americans. We're proud of being Americans because of what we've been able to accomplish for the world. What I can say is that it is, I think you used the word happy. Of course we're not happy. Who's happy with these developments? It's war. It is, while it is common, it is unnatural. It's an obscene display of what humans are capable of. And that is why we work to stop it. And the people who aren't stopping it are Hamas. So when you think about why this continues in the Gaza Strip and organizations who are condemning the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation and their delivery of over 70 million meals at this point, the fact is there is one group responsible, and that's Hamas. They are still holding dead bodies. They're still holding live people. They are still murdering people. So if the onus is on us trying to move through that obscene environment, and we do what we can, which will never be enough. Saeed, I don't know if it's because you want me to repeat this or if you forget what I say. It is worth repeating sometimes. That we understand this, and it's why we do what we do. It's why the president is passionate, why the secretary is passionate, and why I stand at this podium, and why all of you are in this room, because we don't like much of what we see. We have successes sometimes, but of course it's not good enough, and it won't be, because the only time children will have exactly what they need is when Hamas is gone, when the terrorists are not controlling a swath of land, and when peace is generated by a government that its people have chosen and is not based in the inhumane slaughter of people. Yes, sir. All right, so you, sir, and then we'll go. Right.
Thank you very much. I have two quick questions. You are aware
Make them
that
not quick. But go ahead. Yes.
The militia have intensified their attacks on the Kurdistan regional government's oil fields and on U.S. companies operating in Iraq, action that threaten the stability of the global energy market. These attacks are no different from what the Houthis in Yemen are doing against international trade. What responsibilities do the Iraqi state and the international community have in addressing this situation?
You know, obviously that is an issue that we are concerned about. I have put out a statement, which I don't know by heart. I am going to ask, well, where's my Tommy?
We do want to break in with some breaking news locally here. We are still trying to get more video of an incident apparently in Caldwell County. We're learning of some type of altercation at the Caldwell County Board of Commissioners. This happened actually last night. We're just getting video from this. So we do want to show you here in this. You can see from the screen here, there's the altercation. It looked like one of the individuals tried to punch the other man. I couldn't necessarily see if he was able to land that punch or not, but as you can see, it did look like an assault. So this situation, they did send a statement from Caldwell County that says, before Monday night's Board of Commissioners meeting, a disagreement occurred involving Commissioners Jeff Branch and Donnie Potter. After a short delay, the meeting began with both men in attendance. Commissioners Jeff Branch and Donnie Potter both made statements at the beginning of the meeting. Statements began, and then you can see from the video there was some type of something said. One of the men didn't like it, and we're going to play this again. They get into each other's faces, you can see, and then there's that punch there to the face. So not exactly sure which man is Jeff Branch, which is Donnie Potter at the time. You can see the video is kind of grainy. So again, we'll get more information from this as we get more from the county attorney, who is potentially going to process a request to release security video, which is what we have right now. So it's great to have this video. We will get more information from Caldwell County, exactly what happened at the Board of Commissioners meeting. We'll update you at 4, 5, and 6 tonight. But let's go over to Governor Greg Abbott, who is in Texas right now, updating us on obviously the infrastructure needs and everything that's happening in the state of Texas.
And it was granted the next day. Now, in Tom Green County, we are working with officials and working with the community to go through the many stages of the recovery process. Part of that is helping individuals in the tough challenges they're facing, whether it be mental, emotional, physical, or property or family, whatever the case may be. We have so many agencies at the Disaster Recovery Center right now that are responding to the needs of people in the Tom Green County area. Other needs that are being made at the Disaster Recovery Center are needs concerning individual assistance. That individual assistance is now available because of the major disaster declaration that was granted by the federal government, by President Trump. Also, public assistance is available for Tom Green County to rebuild the roads and other structures that the county and city are responsible for. I mentioned it at the Disaster Recovery Center. We have today, but we'll have for days on end, more than a dozen state agencies available to help address the needs of the people in this community. Another thing that we're doing is gathering information that helped us understand the way the response was undertaken here. And I got to tell you, we've not seen a better response in the state of Texas. And there are articulated reasons for that. One is there was a great deal of collaboration at all levels, from the very first minute all the way until this moment in time. The response by local officials was extraordinary. We actually, in talking to Chief Nim Kidd, we consider the way that Tom Green County, and I say the county, obviously involves the city, your mayor, every local official at every level. We consider it to be a model for the way that communities need to respond to disasters like this. And we will talk more about that in the upcoming special session. But in talking to the officials about why they responded the way they did, they talked about being trained for events like this months in advance, being organized and then executing on what the game plan was, but also maintaining a sense of compassion for the needs of the people of this community. Most importantly, they prioritized saving lives. In any type of disaster, saving lives is the first and foremost thing that everybody should have. And that's exactly what took place here. I've heard so many stories about so many rescues that have taken place. Rescues that literally saved lives. Had it not been for those rescues, dozens of people in this community would have lost their life. And there are others that may not have lost their life, but they were still rescued, and they are now able to move forward because of the fact they were rescued. I had the chance to visit with local residents, and I wanted their input on what they were seeing and experiencing. And some words always came up. And that is that they said in San Angelo, we're one community. We are neighbor helping neighbor. And we share things with each other. And you get a sense of the moral clarity and values of the people in this region that provide a sense of resilience and continuity for such a great community. One person mentioned this is neighbor helping neighbor. Others have talked about enduring relationships, that it's those relationships that help them get through these challenging times. Going forward, the state is going to remain working with Tom Green County until the recovery is complete. I mentioned a special session. As you know, we have a special session beginning on this coming Monday. And we have two leaders with us right now that will be very involved in that special session on ensuring that not just Tom Green County, but that every county across the state is going to be evaluated, and we're going to look for strategies that we can pass laws on that will make preparation for these types of events better, make response to these types of events better, to make sure that we leave this disaster in a way that puts Texas in a better position going forward than we were before this devastating storm hit our state. I know that one thing that I also hear about that I want to just mention real quick, now that the storm has passed, the needs for housing have surfaced. And we are working at the Disaster Recovery Center on addressing those housing needs. In the meeting that we were at before coming out here, we talked about the pressing need to address housing. So it's one thing that's going to be happening at the DRC here in San Angelo. It's another thing that we will talk about in the course of the special session that's upcoming. We want to make sure that as we go into and come out of that special session, we are striving to address every need of everybody in Tom Green County before that session is over. And now, with that set up, I'm going to toss it to a senator who's going to be very involved in that special session, Senator Perry.
Thank you, Governor. And can't say enough that you came here, and it shows that Tom Green and people in it matter. And it's not true just for Tom Green. That's true for every Texan, and I appreciate your leadership. As the governor said, I don't know that the folks of Tom Green County can appreciate what was done, that had it not been for them, there would have been more lives lost. And so we're going to start the process this session, this special session. We didn't see this coming on your first call. Unfortunately, God and Mother Nature kind of had a different path, I think, for some of this. But I am confident that we will have a few hearings and figure out where we're at, what can we do better to prevent, what can we do better for mitigation, and that people will leave there hopefully informed, educated, but most importantly, hope. You know, that's the one thing that we can't do as a legislature is put hope in the hearts of the folks that have been impacted at the most deepest levels, but the guy that created the heart can. And I'll just hope that for those that have that certainty, that I'm thankful for that. For those that don't, I hope they run to that creator and not from that creator in these times that we face across the state. I have all the confidence in the world. The state is big enough to what the governor just said, that not one single person will be left behind when it comes to what they need addressed, and we'll find a way to do it. I wish I had all those answers today, Governor. We could save some special session time. But I trust my 181 colleagues in the House and the Senate. They're engaged. This is a serious issue. We've been here before as a state on some level, and we will come out shining as Texas always does. But I can't say enough about the leadership at the local level that we're having a different conversation today, if not for their efforts, Governor. And I look forward to engaging them into that process to make sure other communities can see a success story and what it looks like. But we're ready to go to work, and I thank you for your leadership and setting this up for us so we can have something to work on.
There you go. Thank you. Now, Representative Drew Darby.
Thank you, Governor. And again, on behalf of our community, welcome to San Angelo and to the Concho Valley. Your presence here demonstrates the focus of your office and of the state organizations to help this community and this region out in this important time. And your presence is valued, and we want to publicly show you our appreciation for that. NIM Kidd, Chief Kidd of Texas Division of Emergency Management, thank you. You have been a presence here often, and that presence is very valued. Sean Baxter, your group that are here with us today are very important. The governor mentioned 12 state agencies. I bet there's a lot more state agencies are involved in the recovery here in this region. I think the governor's proclamation early on has made a difference. I know you have been working with surrounding counties, whether it be Concho County, I think Coke County just recently. Thank you for that. We've got to remember that it's not only San Angelo and Tom Green County, it's the communities and counties around us that are also impacted, and thank you for that. It is difficult when you see the tragedy that occurred in Kerrville area and the loss of life, and there are folks here in this audience that have loved ones that were impacted by that. Our congressman had two daughters that were there at that time. So, this is about, we cannot bring them back. We cannot undo that, but what we can do is learn from it, and I think that is what Senator Perry and I and you, of course, are going to carry into the special session is what can we learn from it? How can we prevent it? There's going to be natural disasters to occur in the future, but how do we prevent this loss of life? And thanks to the men and women behind us and to the first responders for your bravery, for your diligence, for your hard work and dedication to the proposition of saving our community. Thank you for that, and again, thank you all for being here.
Thank you very much. Now, Mayor Thompson.
First things first, thanks for coming here and seeing us. As a voice of the local people here, I want you to know that from the word go the morning of the 4th, we heard from every one of y'all, all of our first responders. Everybody became a first responder. But what was very impressive along this pattern and path was the communication downhill that said, don't let government get in your way. If you need help, let us know, and whatever you need, just ask. That rolled forward for 7-10 straight days. City, municipal, state, federal people all came lockstep together to create a response where nobody was in the way. There were no egos in the room. It was, we'll do what we need to do to get it done. We developed many private-public partnerships, especially with our nonprofits, to let them manage and execute in areas that they have expertise that maybe city, state, municipal government do not, as far as housing, volunteer management, resource control. And they did an impeccable, outstanding job. Our reaction and response was great. Our recovery is going to be how we're going to be judged. And with the flow of assets coming from, say, Kerrville, this area up here, we have the opportunity to move our recovery from months to weeks. Right. And with y'all's help and the conversations we just had, I've never been as excited or more confident that not only is that our goal and ideal, it's also y'all's too. It's all comes down from state level. Make this happen. Take care of your citizens. We're going to help you with housing. We're going to try to help you navigate a path. Most important thing that everybody said in there was there's lots of things that we need to figure out what those are. Senator Perry, you said let's not have false expectations on what's going to happen, but we're going to execute and try to get everything out to everybody we can as soon as we can. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now, Chief Nimkid.
Thank you, Governor. And I just want to tell the working media out there, thank you for being here with us and getting this message out, because the first responders of this community absolutely saved lives. The local leadership, from the mayor, the judge, your emergency management coordinator, police and fire chiefs, sheriff, Texas Department of Public Safety, and the game wardens working together as one organization was an amazing feat. If the rest of the state worked like that, I would probably be out of a job. The work that was done here locally is second to none. Then I've got to thank all the volunteers that are out there. We went through houses today where Samaritan's Purse and other volunteers were out there cleaning out the houses, putting the debris in the piles that it needs to be. Very few communities in this state have pre-positioned debris contracts. This one does. They're taking it seriously. Y'all are in good hands. Disasters are going to happen, but leadership like this at the local level will make that recovery so much faster. The volunteers that are out there working right now, if you see one on the street, stop and thank them. They're here for the goodness of good and the hearts and their kindness, and they will help you recover faster than any level of government ever will. So take care of your volunteers that are out here. Glad to be here with you, Governor.
Thank you very much. I want to double down on what Chief Kidd said about the volunteers. I had the opportunity to meet with many of them today, but know all that they're doing. And some of them are volunteers with organizations that existed long before this, and some are just volunteering on their own right now. And what these volunteers are doing, both here in this county as well as Kirk County and counties in between, are changing the face of Texas. We would not be able to be where we are or make it through the recovery process the way that we are without the volume of volunteers that we have. And I'll add this. I've never seen such generosity from our fellow Texans in supporting their communities, those in need. And I got to tell you, what you are providing in monetary resources to help these individuals in these communities is going to accelerate that rebuilding process. Every donation that's coming in that I'm working on is going to make sure is going to someone who's going to be having a home rebuilt or an RV trailer restored, whatever the case may be. We want people back in their homes as quickly as possible. And one thing that accelerates that process are the very generous donations that are coming from our fellow Texans. And with that, we'll take a few questions.
Governor Abbott, God bless you, first of all, and all of the folks that have labored to support the people of Texas here. What can we do now concerning an early warning system? I heard some of that mentioned in Kerrville, now here in San Angelo. Is there a plan in place for Texas to have an early warning system in case of flooding, tornadoes, etc.?
So, I mean, there's several things that need to be answered to that, several responses to that. One is that in some places there are early warning systems, and in some places there are not. And what we need to do, what we are going to do in the session, is evaluate early warning systems. But we have to evaluate it, I think, through this lens. And that is that what may be needed in the Guadalupe River area could be completely different than what is needed in Tom Green County. And we need to be working with leaders and members of local communities to learn from them what is going to be best for them. I'm going to give you a very easy example. And that is, as a person who's been in Hunt, Texas, which was ground zero of where the Guadalupe River flooding took place, there is virtually no cell phone availability at any time. Cell phone warnings would have, I think they were triggered, but they largely would have been irrelevant because of the inability for people to communicate. So I'm going to add to the menu. We have to work on improving communication levels in all of these different regions. Improving communications will be a part of early warnings that we need to address. That said, I know that this senator, this representative are keenly focused on early warning systems, and we'll get something passed on it.
Governor, Sean Humphrey, Fox West, Texas. Thank you for being here. Over the past few weeks, since these floods started, we've seen farmers, ranchers, rural Texans really having to handle a lot of work on their own. We talked about the volunteer help for some of those families, including one we spoke with yesterday. Volunteers got there for the first time, even up to yesterday. So as you look forward and go into the special session, how can we look toward, just making sure even in those rural communities, those small places like Concho County, people are getting the help they need?
So every person in every county affected by these storms is a priority, large and small. And so we'll be going county to county. I talked about the people who are available right here, right now, in this disaster recovery center. Those same agencies are available in every single county that is affected. We will use those agencies and more, working in collaboration both with federal and local agencies to make sure that the needs of every Texan is going to be addressed. You mentioned agriculture, and there are agricultural agencies in Texas as well as the federal government that will work to address the needs of the farmers and ranchers across our state that grow the food and provide the products that feed the nation. Yeah, go ahead.
I had put it out on Facebook and Texas Department of Agriculture. I can't give you that link right off the top of my head, but go there and there's about 3 or 4 different categories of disaster relief. I'll give you one that was very pertinent and relevant was fence building. This is a privately funded bucket of money that Texas Department of Agriculture is responsible for delegating or dispersing it. And I think they're very quick about it. But I can tell you the agriculture community, the sheep, the cattle, these guys in this area, if they've got fences and downs that came through this flood and stuff, but that is a very helpful resource. And people have, I put that out in one day and I already had 2 people tell me they were having fence building within a few days. So just tag that Department of Agriculture's resource. It's privately funded from private donors.